I got it.
Are we streaming live? I want to make sure we're streaming before we start.
Can we go ahead and tell them to go ahead and go live?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. We are now.
Okay. All right. Greetings, everybody. Caddo Parish Commission regular meeting agenda will call to order virtually. It's April the 23rd, 2020. It is 3:34. Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Here.
Johnson,
Present.
Jackson. Commissioner Jackson. Young,
Present.
Burrell,
Here.
Cawthorn,
Present.
Gage Watts,
Present.
Taliaferro,
Yes, ma'am, here.
Atkins,
Here.
Chavez,
Present.
Lazarus,
Here.
Epperson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We're going to have our invocation by Commissioner Taliaferro and our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Cawthorn.
Let us pray. Hello, God. We come to you with humble hearts. You know, we know that you are one who bends your ear and listens to us, but we need to reach out and talk to you. And we pray for the sick and infected, God, during this time to heal and help them and sustain our bodies and spirits, contain the spread of this infection and in our community and the nation. This is for your local and state, your federal governments, Lord. We're asking our elected officials to seek you as they plan and distribute those resources necessary to fight this disease. For those with mental health challenges and the homeless, Lord, we ask your protection over them and give them isolation and shelters in every city. For those missionaries throughout the world, you know, especially in the areas with high rates of infection, we ask your arms to be a hedge of protection around them. And for the families with young children at home that in the foreseeable future, they seek your help and your blessings. For the mothers and fathers to all partner together. And during this time when we're all hunkered down, make this a time that we seek your face. Lord, we bless this commission and the work that they do, be it for the citizens of Caddo that we serve, but most importantly, be it for your kingdom, God. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Now for our Pledge of Allegiance. So all active and former military people can offer hand to brow salute, and non-military people can offer hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks.
Do I have any agenda additions?
I have none.
I have none either. We move on to citizen comments. I know we have 3 citizens comments. Deputy Nations, go ahead with those.
The first one's going to be from Mark Lanier, and his comment is in reference to resolution number 25 of 2020. I wish to speak about approving Frymaster for participation in the industrial tax exemption program. Well-Built Corporation is a global leader in kitchen equipment, design, manufacturing, and system solutions. Over the course of the next 2 years, Frymaster, a division of Well-Built, will undergo a business transformation that will completely modernize its local manufacturing operations in Shreveport. After a decade of limited capital investment, the company is actively and aggressively investing in equipment, tools, technology, training, and people. These investments are intended to enable and ensure the long-term viability of Frymaster's operations in Louisiana. Specific projects include: 1, purchase and installation of state-of-the-art equipment that will improve the quality of its products, decrease the time to market, and potentially become the hub of fabrication for many of Well-Built's companies across the country. 2, purchase of state-of-the-art design software that will enable a new generation of designers to create next-gen products to manufacturing execution systems that will empower our associates on the shop and enhance our digital architecture. And 3, invest in training and employee upskilling. And that's from Mark Lanier, Director of Operations from Frymaster. The second one that I have is from John Glover. She says, "Good afternoon, President Chavez and commissioners. These 3 NGOs are on the agenda for your consideration. As I read the detail of each, how much of an impact will each pose on the Commission's 2020 budget? Would it not be prudent to not expend funding at this time due to COVID-19? She lists ordinance number 5946 of 2020, $10,000 to the Southern Hills homeowners, ordinance number 5947 of 2020, $25,000 to Strategic Action Council, ordinance number 5948 of 2020, $7,000 to Ivy Crown. 2 are the resolutions up for your consideration. Again, reading the explanation that supports each such request, can you answer the questions highlighted, please? Ordinance number 5950 of 2020. Salary of the commission clerk. Why the range? What salary will be attached to this position outside of the range? Ordinance number 5951 of 2020. $10,000 to Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. What is the correlation of this ordinance with ordinance number 5948 of 2020? Ordinance number 5952 of 2020, $8,489, summer program, reappropriating, why? Ordinance number 5956 of 2020, LSU HSC, an appropriation of up to $175,000. After hearing all the locations that provide COVID-19 testing and learning that LSU HSC already has wellness mobile units, why this expenditure? Thank you for reading my concerns, and I pray that each will be addressed accordingly. And then the next citizen's comment we have is from Nancy Mitchell. And she states, why are Shreve Memorial Libraries not collecting books, and why are they not allowing a person to order books and pick them up curbside like so many other businesses? Are the librarians receiving full pay during this time? What are they doing to earn their pay during this time if we can't order books for pickup? Thank you. And that's all the comments that I have.
Ms. Nations, who is the person that asked the question about Shreve Memorial Library?
Nancy Mitchell.
Okay, can you send me those correspondence from those 3?
Sure.
Ms. Nation,
Yes, sir.
I'd like all the comments also, please.
Okay. Do you want me just to forward them to all the commissioners?
Yes, please.
Okay. Got it.
Michelle, does she have a address or a zip code on her comments?
For which one?
The last one.
She has a phone number.
Okay.
Madam Clerk,
Yes, sir.
that would be helpful if they can at least do a zip code on their comments.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if we can put that on the request form or what, but that'll be helpful.
Okay. I'll add it to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving along. Do we have any visitors?
No, sir.
Okay.
Now we move to adopt regular session minutes.
Clerk,
Yes, sir.
I thought that Mr. Lester sent in a public comment that he wants you to read out.
I didn't get a public comment from him.
The statement he emailed.
Oh, yes, I did. I didn't know if you wanted me to read that or if I forwarded it to all the commissioners, but I can read that aloud if you'd like.
Yeah, I understand it was for public comment when he called me.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read it out loud. Let's see. His is, good afternoon to the chairman and other Caddo Parish commissioners. I am Calvin Ben Lester, and I have applied to serve on the Parish Charter Review Committee. I was pleased to serve Shreveport in this area as a Shreveport City Council member from 2002 to 2010. I believe my experience with governmental entities, legal education, and work in educational settings would be a benefit working through the issues that would be involved with the charter review. Thank you in advance for taking the time to review my qualifications. Calvin Ben Lester.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I was gonna say, Mr. Chairman, I believe 90% of those comments could probably just be sent to the Inquisitor. I think you all have their zip code, don't you? Just saying.
Roy made it funny. He made it funny.
I thought he was being serious at first. I know we're about to move forward to adopt the regular session minutes. Just to make it easy for everybody, if you push your Zoom meeting in participation mode.
9:52, 2020.
You hear me? Hold on a second. All right, I think it's unmuted. Okay, I just want to let the commissioners know, on the Zoom meeting, if you look where it says participation in the lower middle, you can click on that. It'll give you a side toolbar. There's a raise hand, just in case I can't see you. If you want to talk, just go ahead and throw your hand up in case the host has you muted, so that I can make sure that I call on everybody. I don't want to pass up anybody because we can't see you. All right, thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. Okay, so we move to adopt regular session minutes from March 5th, 2020.
Move
So
to
move
adopt.
to adopt. Second.
Got a motion to adopt by LBJ and seconded by, I think it was Stephen Jackson.
Correct.
Okay,
Roll call vote, please.
Hopkins, Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
Muted.
Lane, you still muted.
I'm sorry.
what was your vote, Commissioner
Yes.
Hawthorne? Okay, Commissioner
Yes.
Gage Watt,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
You're muted, Jim.
Commissioner
Yes.
Taliaferro, okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that's 12 yays. Now we move to adopt regular session minutes from April 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Move for adoption.
Second.
I believe Todd Hopkins made the motion and Ken Epperson seconded that. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson. He has a little check mark. I'm assuming that's a yes. Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Correct.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yays. Now we move to adopt special session minutes from March 18th, 2020.
So move.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Epperson, seconded by LBJ. Please vote.
No, that was Burrell.
Oh, it's Brett. I'm sorry.
That's the other Epperson.
But I don't think you can hear me.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yays. Now we move to special resolutions. Special resolution of recognition to Principal Ginger Gustafson,
Gustafson.
2020 Louisiana Association of School Executives Regional Principal of the Year Award.
Motion.
That was moved by
passed.
Jim and second by Stormy.
All right. Passed by Taliaferro, second by Stormy. Commissioner Taliaferro, would you like to speak on that motion?
No, I think I spoke regarding in another session. Ginger is a principal over at Captain Shreve and was recognized as the principal of the year. I thought it was a great opportunity to recognize her for her dedication to the education of our students. She She is a pillar in our community and well respected by her students and peers alike. So I thought she was deserving of this type of recognition. Thank you, Mr. President.
Absolutely. Do I have any other commissioners that would like to speak? I see none. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yeas. Now we move to special proclamation to the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Second.
All right, that's moved by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by the chair. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to speak on that?
Yes, sir. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, all of these ceremonies has been postponed for this year. However, President Obama issued an executive order in 2013, and they would move forward. Each president will sign an executive order individually declaring March the 29th as 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War up until the year of 2025. The reason for this being that it was a very unpopular and contentious war. It divided our United States greatly. Our soldiers that served and was returning were not treated honorably upon their return. So therefore, they've done a commemorative medal, and they will do this recognition on the 29th of March of each year, making sure that they welcome and thank each and every one Vietnam veteran that served in theater or whether they served honorably any other place. And hopefully everything will be fine next year. And if it's God's will and we're still here in March of next year, we will do a recognition ceremony physically. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes, I just wanted to offer as a suggestion that may work better for our clerk. If she goes to participants and let the commissioners vote on the board, it'll be similar to what we do in the chambers. And that way she can see all of the commissioners, whether they voted yes or no, and then she can tally it that way. That may be an easier way of doing it for her, as opposed to the roll call vote. Just a suggestion.
I think that's a great idea. I just want to confirm with legal, would Zoom be qualified as a legal vote?
No.
Commissioner, I think it would be okay for recording purposes. However, the public cannot see that. So what I would suggest that you do for the people who are watching the meeting is when you get ready to take a vote, ask everybody to unmute their mic so that they can still roll call vote, and you may supplement that with the hand raising.
Okay.
Okay.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Burrell.
When we are in the chambers and we vote and our vote go up on the board, we assume then that the public sees it because it's televised. Is that?
Yes, sir. We have screens within the chambers, outside the chambers, and as well as it's broadcasted and streamed live on the internet.
Okay, thank you.
That is a great, it was a great idea though, Cawthorn. I agree with you on that. I see no one else on the board. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts. Commissioner
Yes.
Gage Watts? Okay.
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, now we move to communiques and committee reports, administration response to information requests from commissioners.
All right, commissioners, either raise your hand or click on that button to raise your hand, and I will call on you, whoever would like to get on the board. Commissioner Atkins.
Put me on the board, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Epperson.
sir.
Thank you, President Chavez. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Epperson for his service in the Vietnam War, following up on our last vote. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Epperson. Let's see.
You probably didn't hear what you said, Commissioner Chavez.
Ken, are you with us?
Oh, I'm next?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to state the mass distribution. Hello, is that mine or someone's telephone? The mass distribution went quite well. I got up and visited West Park Compactor site, and 3 of the employees, we had a wonderful time. I spent 30 minutes up there passing out masks to our citizens that came by. Once I left West Park Compactor site, I was heading to Bill Cockrell. And by the time I got off Greenwood Road on the Pines Road, cars was backed up on both sides from Popeye's Chicken all the way down to the entrance of Bill Cockrell. And I got caught in between it, so I stayed there and I called Miss Bryant. And once I got to a spot where I could see where they were entering and exiting, that they had an issue and there wasn't any police or traffic control there. So Miss Bryant called and got us a police officer out, and everything went smooth. Got several phone calls. They wanted to let the commission know that they appreciate the mask given out, as well as an email. Also, I'd like to thank Ms. Bryant and Dr. Wilson and Mr. Robert Jump, our Homeland Security advisor. Had an elderly lady that lives in my district in Bethany. Her son-in-law was in Longview and he had been put in hospice, and she was sort of distraught as to what the situation would be for her trying to go and visit him during his last hours. So I contacted Ms. Bryant, Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Jump, and we got her some factual information, and she called back and thanked us, and she appreciated that. I also like to thank Mr. Hankins and Public Works Department, South Camp Supervisor, and the crew. They had been out since 7 o'clock last night with the storm, down trees and flooding. So we appreciate their efforts. I spoke with him a little after 2 o'clock, and he was still out. Overton Brooks VA Medical Center is giving COVID-19 tests free to all veterans, Monday through Friday, 9 until 12 and 1 until 3 p.m. They're going to be trying to do at least 100 a day. It's on a drive-up basis. You don't have to get out of your vehicle. Just have your VA ID ready to show, and you'll be served in your vehicle. If you have any more questions relative to that, or anyone listening, you can call 222-8411, the Overton Brooks VA Medical Center. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs sent a correspondence stating that they are partnering with the United States Treasury Department and the Internal Revenue Service to deliver economic impact payments to veterans and their survivors who receive compensation and pension from veterans benefits. So anyone that would like more detailed information on that, please email me at kepperson@caddo.org, and I'll send you information where you can contact them for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner John Paul Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have just a question and a request for the administration. First, I want to thank Tim Weaver for giving me all the advice I needed to speak to some constituents in Dixie Garden about the flash flooding that happened there yesterday and what the parish does to prevent their homes from flooding. And then I also wanted to follow up with some concerns that those constituents voiced to me today when I met with them, and they had several suggestions of things that we could do to improve the drainage exit in Dixie Garden. Dr. Wilson, I know you know the site And the simplest thing that I thought we could achieve quickest was to go in and clear the brush and the debris that sort of periodically accumulates in that sort of ditch that goes under 70th Street through the culvert. And then they requested that we do the same on the other side of 70th Street so that the water would have a very clear path to exit out of their neighborhood. They mentioned that there uncertainty about whether they had permission from the property owners to go and clear that brush, and that may have been an obstacle to doing it regularly in the past, but I think we should certainly revisit that because it seems like the quickest, cheapest way to make an improvement there. And then in the future, I'd like to talk with you offline about some of their other suggestions, which were interesting and but more involved. And so thank you all for that work.
Okay, we got it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stephen, what's the P for? That's Stephen Jackson?
You got,
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Okay, I see that. I saw the SPJ. I was assuming it was Commissioner Jackson. I didn't know what the P was stood for.
I'm sorry, that's me. Is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to, I guess, continue the chorus of praises. I want to thank our administration for their response and keeping us abreast of information sharing throughout COVID-19. And as we all adjust to some type of new normal here, want to definitely highlight and thank Assistant Administrator Brian and Dr. Wilson, Crystal Beecham, and Robert Jump for coordinating the call yesterday with the medical school as well as the Air National Guard, who will be helping to facilitate logistics and planning for the community mobile, rapid mobile testing sites. I believe they will be out today starting their setup. There will be a walkthrough tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Of the site. There's going to be a full and thorough inspection of the site. And I thank Tim Weaver as well, because I think Tim kind of enjoys this stuff, just getting out, being a problem solver. So please send my thanks, Dr. Wilson, to Tim Weaver.
Yes, sir, I will.
I often tell Tim I can relax when I know somebody's got his number, or I can give somebody his number. So that definitely gives me a reason to relax. Also, Dr. Wilson, I'm going to send you, Haley, and Ms. Bryant a email. I don't know if y'all received it yet, but there was some guidance that came out from the Treasury Department regarding how we can request a portion of the $1.8 billion that the I know it's going to be up to the governor to determine how those dollars are allocated, but I definitely think that we should be knocking on his door to let them know, because what I tend to hear people say is that states and cities need help funding. But as I remind folks on our NACO steering and subcommittees, is that counties and parishes need to be included when they're talking about funding deficits and reimbursements and things like that. So there is a pool of money. The White House released that guidance on last night. That guidance came out. And there's also the FEMA Public Assistance Fund that we can be reimbursed for expenses for as well. And so I just want to forward that over to you. Okay. The mask, I do thank Haynes. Was it the Haynes Corporation or Haynes Association for providing the mask? However, I did receive some calls this morning, mostly out of the Allendale and Lakeside area, indicating that no masks were, there was no distribution site at any of the Allendale Lakeside areas. There's an Andrew Carey Park in Lakeside. There's Lakeside Recreation Center that kind of splits Lakeside and Allendale. And so they indicated, and then there's Cherokee Park as well. They indicated that there were no masks available to any of those areas. So I don't know if there will be a new allotment of masks. As we've said here, Ms. Linda Montgomery sent me a call from Mr. Rudolph Glass, and that was what he wanted. That was his concern, was that there was no mass distribution in the Allendale, Lakeside, Cherokee Park area. So that's a huge swath of North Shreveport that was missed. And I would ask that if there's any leftover masks or any reserve or surplus that we could see if we can get some over to that Lakeside, Allendale, Cherokee Park area. A lot of senior citizens in that area as well. And I also just wanted to just clarify why we are here in commission session. I did reach out to Commissioner Telefero to clarify via text message, but just wanted to clarify as we go forward the funding for the medical school. And I saw where Ms. Glover asked some questions about it. The funding is not just to add an additional testing site. The funding is 2 for the price of 1. And I think there are attempts to intentionally confuse individuals about it. But the funding is for testing as well as the utilization of the EBT lab that will get us quicker results and quicker readings. And so I just want to be clear about that. And if you ever have any questions, Dr. Wilson, I will forward you Dr. Kelville's number, and so you can share with commissioners, or I may send that to Ms. Nation so you can share with Ms. Nations, so that if you ever have any doubt or any questions about something, feel free to call the subject matter experts and let them answer those questions. I did send an email out. I would like to thank Mr. Allen Organic, who reached out, and he's provided $125,000 to help match what the commission is doing. And he's kind of issued a challenge to the manufacturing community, because we know that testing is going to be very vital as we start to reopen our economy. We have 2 private sector entities that are interested in what we're doing here in Caddo Parish. And so I want to thank everybody for their understanding, their cooperation in this endeavor. And this is a community effort. This is a commission effort. This is not about Commissioner Stephen Jackson. And so I want to be very clear and on the record about that. But do know that we've gotten the attention of a lot of people across the nation as calls have come in to figure out what magic did we do. And we just told them there was nothing magic. Dr. Wilson, you've been looped in on a lot of those conversations. And so it's a very popular program. And it's something that I think that we can be proud of for our community. So that wraps up my comments, Mr. President. I appreciate it and hope everybody
Thank you,
stays.
Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Burrell, you have your mute on, or
Sorry about that. No, my mute is not on. My mute is not on. Can you hear me?
No, you're good. The host had you muted, but they unmuted you, so you're free. Go ahead.
All right, host, get it together. Okay, my mass distribution today went well. I was informed that we were having one at Pillsbury Park for Caddo Parish District 5. I think we had about a 5,000 allotment. I was there from 8 o'clock to 10:45. I left, and they didn't have very many left. So everything went smoothly. People were very appreciative. We still had cars coming. I understand it later. Councilman Bradford and I were the 2 elected officials who were there. Since I have an urban district, I may be talking as it relates to urban issues, but Community Foundation, I'd like to send a shout out to them for making that contribution to the city of Shreveport for their sanitation workers who put their lives in the forefront, collecting garbage every day. You never know where the virus is. So they take that risk, and Community Foundation came in and at the mayor's request and did some sort of supplement of contribution to them. The thirdly is Miss Bryant. Miss Bryant, thanks again for that link, the city link, because I have urban citizens. They are not outside the parish, and what they want to know is what's going on in the city. They don't differentiate between me as a city councilman or a commissioner. And clearly they still don't know I went down to the state for 12 years. So I'm good either way. But again, I really appreciate you putting that link on, because it gives me a lot of added information that I need. Thank you, Mr.
You're
President.
welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to take a few moments to offer my sincerest condolences and extend my prayers and thoughts to the bereaved families during this time as we are adjusting to this new normal. And I want to say thank you to the citizens of Caddo Parish for their resilience, and to the many individuals and organizations alike who has stepped up during this pandemic. I'm extremely grateful of the collective efforts and the generosity throughout our parish. I am truly Caddo Parish proud. And I just want them to know that I know it has not been easy for us to make these adjustments, but it is worth it and our life depends on it. So I encourage you all to continue to follow the guidelines and we'll get through this together. Also, I want to say to you, Dr. Wilson, that I thank you for your quick response on yesterday for the sandbags, for the elderly couple. They were very appreciative about what you did to step up and to help them. So I just, on their behalf, I thank you for being accessible, professional, and as always, you are timely in your responses. So we just want to say thank you for that. And to Miss Erica Bryant, I want to say thank you for every day making sure that even if our situation does not change, you are providing what has been asked of you. And I just thank you for that, for their resilience during this time. To the entire staff for their quick responses on anything that I have personally asked for, it has been carried through. And I really want to thank each of you for that, even if I don't mention your name. CCAA, dealing with their own issues, they are still responding to calls. And I want the citizens to know that CCAA is an organization that you truly can count on in any situation, whatever circumstances that we're facing. They will step up and stand up for the cause. I want to thank Haynes for their generosity in providing the masks. And I would like for us to continue to seek other donors for additional masks for every citizen in our parish. We have gotten a lot of great responses that I've heard my colleagues mention as well. I received a lot of calls this morning saying how well everything was organized, and even when the lines were in the street, that they still did not wait long. So I want to thank everyone who made sure that the masks that were available were handed out in a timely and organized fashion. And lastly, I have a question that I wanted to ask about the emergency transitional funding grant, emergency transitional housing grant. Did we get any information on that? Are we applying or have we applied?
I'm not aware that we have applied yet for that.
Okay.
No,
We'll have to check.
Okay.
no, we haven't applied yet, Commissioner. The deadline is April 30th, and I am working with both juvenile and, if necessary, maybe the sheriff's office in order to see what we can do in our grant coordinator. So we are aware that the deadline is April 30th, and we will work to try to meet that deadline if we have something that we can apply.
Okay, thank you. And
Sure.
so much. I just thought that there was something that we may be able to use in the parish.
Mhm.
Also, as I close, I just want to say that we are still focused on helping our elderly, making sure that we're caring for the aging population, and to those who are hungry, to those who are homeless and jobless. Even if a second wave comes, I want them to be reassured that we're going to be prepared as possible. I know that there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions about their loved ones, where their livelihood goes from them. Is their business going to open again? You know, if they can keep their homes, and I want them to know that we're committed to improving the quality of life for the citizens of Caddo Parish. When it comes down to making decisions, we will use common sense of keeping food on the table, flipping a light switch, roofs over your head, whatever we need to do to make long-term investments. You can count on me that we are going to be prepared to help the next generation to make healthier choices holistically. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to chime in and add on to what Commissioner Jackson and what Commissioner Gage Watson said. I had a couple of people who inboxed me on Facebook and they wanted to know if there was going to be any leftover masks. Would there be a second redistribution? Told them I'm not 100% sure. I'll check into it. These were a couple of people who are still working, so they couldn't make it the hours today, but after 5 or something like that, they could make it. So I just wanted to see if Dr. Wilson could check into it and see whether or not any masks are left over, and
Yes, sir,
whether
we
or
will.
not there'll be an opportunity to do some redistribution of these. Thank you.
Okay, we will, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice President Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. One thing I want to say is I want to also thank Assistant Administrator Brian for the daily updates that we've been getting. Those have been very informative in helping us to get the information out to the citizens that we serve. Second of all, I want to thank Haynes for the mask today. I had a lot of my constituents call thanking us for passing those out in different locations. I actually had 2 locations in District 2. One was the David Raines Community Center, the Rec Center, and also Billberry. Billberry is mine, Roy. I don't know if you know that or not, but it's mine. So I had 2 of them in District 2. Now I appreciate you showing up there. That's the south end of my district.
Glad to help.
All right. And I also want to appreciate Johnson & Johnson because of their deal with the LSU research and Inferno for also putting the money up. And, that kind of leads me to the second part of the deal. I know Ms. Glover talked about the allocation of funds, and there has been some public comments about I voted no on the $175,000. And, the reason I voted no is because I felt that the dollar amount was too high. Not against the mobile unit. It's just the fact that I felt that the dollar amount was too high, being that we have so many different sites at the hospitals, the clinics, and then there are some remote sites that are also being set up that are not costing taxpayers not a single dime. When you look at other parishes that border us, we far more have more sites than they do. Yeah, we do have more citizens, but when you look at the state, we're leading the state in testing as well. I looked at the news today and they was talking about testing the medical field, the nurses, the doctors that work in the hospital. But what I found so shocking is once they test those individuals, they send in the test down to the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area for them to be basically to get the results. And then they would send the results back up here, which I felt kind of like, well, if LSU is doing what they're doing, why are they sending them down to Baton Rouge to get the test done? But it is what it is. And, that's what it is. So my no vote is basically due to it being that the dollar amount, I feel it was extremely too high based upon all the other things that we have in front of us that's known and also unknown. The other thing I want to say is that, I think as a group, we're doing a good job. We're trying to get involved in the community to make sure that the citizens in Caddo Parish know that we care, we're concerned about them. We want to make sure that they follow the executive orders of the governor of making sure that everyone masked up if they have to go out. But if you don't have to go out, stay at home. One of the things too with the mask, there's a lot of senior citizens that stay in some of the senior citizens apartments that wasn't able to get out. And so if we have a second round, if we could target some of those that basically don't have transportation, but still move around in the community, being that even if it's just in an apartment complex, that we can take care of them with the second round of masks if there's any available. That's all I have right now, Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President. Commissioner Jackson for the second. Host, can you unmute Commissioner Jackson's?
Can you
Okay,
hear me?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson, can you start again?
No, it's okay. No, I just wanted to clarify. A lot of people understand how healthcare, the ins and outs of healthcare work. And a lot of clinics that you see testing, one, they're not in, it's about access. There are a lot of clinics in Shreveport and Caddo Parish that are able to do testing. But there are a lot of areas throughout Caddo Parish, including our rural areas, that do not have access. But those clinics that are currently able to do testing and were first able to do testing, they have existing contracts with existing laboratories. And so the uniqueness, Commissioner Talaferro, to your question on Monday, the uniqueness about this was we were able to keep the labs, the test here, and that was how we're able to get 24 to 48 hour turnaround instead of the weeks turnaround, where we know is people had waiting on their test results. And so just for clarification, that is one of the hallmark components of the funding. And so as we go forward, if anybody has question about what the funding is for, just feel free to reach out and ask. We'll explain it to you all day, but can't make individuals understand. But the funding is to support the laboratory and the lab capabilities here in Shreveport and Caddo Parish with the medical school and LSU Health Science Center. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see Commissioner Burrell for the second.
Just want to make a follow-up comment to Commissioner Johnson. Don't get jealous if I'm at Billsbury. I just happened to build that recreation center while I was the councilman, so you'll probably see me there. A lot of people still know me there, but I'll pass all my problems on to you.
All right, Deputy Nation.
As long as they're on the north side of Lakeshore, I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioners. Deputy Nations.
I just want to note that the certificate for teleconference is attached to the agenda. Now we move to President's report.
Thank you, Ms. Nations. I wanted to reiterate what most people said in regards to the Haynes Corporation and thank them for the mask. It was a huge success in Southern Hills. We had cars lined up there as early as 7 a.m. and we chose to open the doors about 7:45 just to try to get the traffic off of Burt Coons. We had about 7,000 masks. We ended at about 10:45 this morning. Lots of thanks to the Shreveport Police Department for directing the traffic, the Sheriff and the Homeland Security, Mayor Perkins, and the entire collaborative effort that really came together. We said this in our press release 2 days ago that it wasn't political, but that it was a community effort, and it really was. It was nice to see all the volunteers. We had animal control officers out there with gloves and masks on, handing out more masks to citizens. We had SPAR workers. We had different people from a lot of different organizations all teamed up together, and it was really nice to see that. So thank you for doing that. One thing that I would like to say, it kind of rang true, was love your neighbor. I saw a lot of people that made a lot of comments, and they were a little bit disgruntled when they said a person with a very nice vehicle was there picking up some masks, like that person is driving this type of car. Why are they getting free masks? Citizens, everyone's in a different walk of life. You know, you can never really judge anybody else where they're at in their journey. And this COVID-19 affected everybody. There was many people that lost their job. Even if somebody's driving a nicer car, if they lost their job, they too can be hurting. So try to give everybody a little bit of grace and love your neighbor. And I think we're going to go a long way by being all in this together and not really judging each other. That was one thing that I wanted to leave with today, because I did see some people say that. Moving along, on that same token, small businesses, a lot of the small businesses here have really stepped it up and are doing a lot of good things for the community, but they've had to change their business model. So try to give them a little bit of grace. It takes a little bit longer for them to have to change their entire business model to take to-go orders. It is more expensive. I've noticed a lot of people asking, why are some restaurants going up in cost? If you were at home and every day you ate on paper plates and plasticware and had to throw that out and continuously buy that, it would increase your expense at your house. They're having to use one-time plasticware to-go containers, which are about 50 cents a piece, and it's really driving their cost up too. So if they have to add an extra $1 or $2 on the to-go orders, please give them some grace as well. They're not doing it because they're trying to make more money. They're trying to cover their cost. Having regular silverware and plates that they can rewash and reuse is a lot cheaper. To the citizens, thank you for sending your comments. Mark Lanier, I agree with you on the Fry Master. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do for our community. Ms. Glover, thank you for always staying engaged and what you do in our community. Welcome to District 10, by the way. I heard you're a new constituent, so I'm happy to have you. You did send over some messages. I think the majority of your questions I had answered, but I think you did pose a valuable question that I think a lot of other citizens may want to hear. They asked, why are we appropriating funds for things that either A, didn't happen, or are not going to happen? And the way that it works is legally, if we have an agenda item in old business, we have to address it. We can't just delete it or get rid of it. So today you may see some motions made where we will dismiss those motions or delay them. But that's why, just so the citizens understand for that. And then Miss Nancy, on the Shreve Memorial question, I will get with Director John Tuggle and try to get you an answer on that. And lastly, everybody said thank you to Erica and Dr. Wilson, and those thank yous are of course needed, but nobody thanked Crystal. So Crystal, thanks for all the work you've been doing. I know you've been really, really working hard, doing a lot of PR stuff for the parish, and you're doing an excellent job. And I want you to know that doesn't go unnoticed. That concludes my president's report.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
just as a point of clarification on one comment that you made about people coming by in cars that look like they're wealthy. You're going to have that because sometimes masks are hard to come by, and this was one of the opportunities that they could get masks. I've had them to say that they could not find them or order them or whatever the case may be. So this was an opportunity for them to come, to come by to get some for their safety too. So you could use that as a comment.
It's a good perspective. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. President, were they N95 masks or were they just surgical masks?
No, we were talking about the mask that we were giving out today from the Haynes Corporation.
Right. Were they,
No,
what type of mask? This cloth mask?
Yeah, cloth masks.
Okay.
I think they made the same, what they normally make either t-shirts or underwear out of. They converted their machinery to produce the mask, which is pretty cool.
Fabric.
All right, Deputy Nations.
I'm sorry. I was on
Commissioner
the
Chop.
board. I think you got a few of us that are on the board, Mr. President.
To speak for zoning ordinances or what exactly?
No, I just had a comment to follow up behind what Commissioner Burrell was saying about making sure that everyone understands that those masks were an opportunity for anyone. We don't want anyone to believe that they were disenfranchised or they had to be of a certain economic status to receive those masks. And I just wanted them to be reassured that no matter what kind of car that they were driving, if they needed a mask, that's who it was for. We did not purchase those masks to distribute to any specific group. Those masks were donated to us to distribute to the citizens of Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Well said, Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Stephen Jackson. See you on the board. Just want to make sure you're still muted, Commissioner.
You mean Commissioner Gage Watts? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. No, I was just I had just had a joke. It sounded like you was asking me to wash dishes a little bit more when you made the paper plate comment. That's all I was going to do.
You're
It's
always
all
welcome
good.
at the restaurant, Stephen. I'll do the dishes with you.
Appreciate it.
I actually rode my bike to the park today to distribute the mass. So if anybody has anything to say about cars, I rode my bicycle. All right, moving along to a public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases.
We have no public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases, so we move to a public hearing on ordinances. Ordinance number 5946 of 2020, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation for the Southern Hills Homeowners Association and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Do you want me to just?
We have to do this one a little bit differently, just because obviously I can't say, does anyone like to speak for it or speak against it? And somebody in the audience would raise their hand. So if you would like to call the commission clerk because you'd like to speak either for this or against this, the phone number is 318-226-6596. I'll go ahead and post this on the Facebook page as well.
Do you want me to go ahead and read the rest of them and then just you can
go ahead and read them, Deputy Nations, and if any citizen would like to speak for or against one of those, please call into Ms. Nations and let her know.
Okay. Ordinance number 5947 of 2020, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund to provide an appropriation to Strategic Action Council of Northwest Louisiana. Ordinance number 5948 of 2020, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $7,000 to provide an appropriation to Ivy Crown Community Services. Ordinance number 5949 of 2020, an ordinance to deem property surplus and authorize the sale of surplus property owned by the parish of Caddo.
All right, we'll give these citizens about a minute just to call in.
We have a phone call. I'm waiting to see if it's a citizen's comment.
They're going to call you about your extended warranty.
At some point, I want a point of information.
Go ahead, Commissioner. We got time.
Okay, since we just recently been given, I assume, an administrative request. Well, I don't know if it's an administrative request or administrative decision on NGO funding because of Riverboat funding. This report that was given to me shows a negative for March 19th. I'm trying to get a clarification as to whether or not the NGO funding, does it come out of Riverboat funds too, or it comes out of something else? The reason why we suspended it and we show a negative coming here in the Riverboat funds, but yet we are still funding and not suspending any of these projects.
Commissioner,
Mr. President, can I answer that?
Well, can we hang on because we have a citizen that would like to make a for or against on the ordinance.
Okay.
Let's save these because I know Ms. Bryant would like to speak on that too. And we'll do it down in communiques a little bit later. But Ms. Nations, what was the citizen? What would they like to say? We need to hear that now.
Her name is Miss John Glover, and I'm going to put her on speakerphone. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Miss Glover. Okay, you're on the air.
Michelle, we can't hear.
Miss Miss Glover, they can't hear you. Hold on one second, please. Let me see if I can make this a little louder. Also, you might want to mute your computer because it's doing feedback. Okay. Hold on one second. Let me try this again, okay? You're welcome. Miss Glover?
Yes.
Can you guys hear? Commissioners, can y'all hear?
Yes.
Y'all can hear her?
No, I can hear you. I can't hear her.
Okay.
Ask her to just type it on Facebook and then I can read it.
Commissioner Chavez asked that you
Commissioner,
type
this
it
is
on.
Donna, I can hear her if when everything else is silent. Can she speak for a little bit to see if we can hear her as she goes on?
Sure.
Go ahead, Ms.
Good
Glover.
evening, Commissioners. Again, thank you for allowing me to address this issue with the NGOs. I don't feel that this is an improved move. Why would we extend funds when we're in the midst of COVID-19? The impact to the budget, how we even give a consideration to that. And not only that, when you're looking at the items themselves individually, I'm trying to figure out why we even addressing this if no one is actually doing any work right now because we're all in a stay-at-home mode. So what's really going on and why would we actually support either one of these NGOs? Thank you.
Ms. Glover, are you done?
Yes, thank you for asking.
Okay, you're welcome. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Ms. Nations, I know we can't respond, but some of us couldn't hear what her comment was. So can you reiterate what she said?
Sure. She pretty much asked the questions that were in her citizens comment. She was wondering during this COVID-19, why is the parish still expending funds?
Okay.
And that's all the citizens that I have on the board.
Okay. Moving along.
Okay, that closes out public hearing on ordinances. We have no zoning ordinances for final passage. Now we move to ordinances for final passage. Ordinance number 5946 of 2020, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation for the Southern Hills Homeowners Association.
I'd like to make a motion to pull this item, if I can get a second.
Second.
All right, I believe that was Commissioner Burrell. I'm pulling this, because we're in a situation, obviously, with COVID-19 where we don't have the same funds that we thought we did. And two, because of COVID-19, I don't think that we're going to go forward with the music in the park in Southern Hills, regretfully. So I would like to pull this.
Mr. President, since I second it, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner Burrell.
My comment is that I don't have a problem with any of this. I noticed that part of them come out of the Economic Development Committee, and I sat in on the Economic Development Committee, although I'm not on that committee. Matter of fact, I'm really only on one officially, but I think you're going to put me back on NGO since I no longer have a relationship with our NGO. I mean, when I say I don't have a relationship, I don't have a contractual relationship with them, which is something good, and maybe some people can rest easy, get a little better sleep over that issue. But as I said, I don't have an issue with any of these if we have the monies and resources to do it. I know that some of these projects and whether it is NGOs or economic development project, and I'm separating those two for a reason. They may be done. We don't know where we're going with this virus and whether or not some of the things will take place until next year. I know we postponed ICE has postponed its activity as of today to possibly next year, and they were in there for some funding. So again, I just needed to get some clarification myself, because many of us who were not on the commission at the time that all these decisions were made, I don't know about them, but I need more information to be able to vote on some things like these. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I see no other commissioners on the board. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yeas. Now we move to ordinance number 5947, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund to provide an appropriation to Strategic Action Council.
Move to
Move
adopt.
for adoption.
I think that was motion made by LBJ and seconded by Epperson. Is
Yes.
that right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner, Vice President Johnson, would you like to speak on that motion?
Yes. SAC is working with the city of Shreveport with the Shreve Biz and trying to get and maintain small businesses in Shreveport and Caddo Parish. So, I mean, they're still working, still trying to make things happen, especially with small businesses, small minority businesses, businesses that are small and emerging with minority ownership, not only Black, but women and Hispanics. So they're still working. They're not on vacation or basically waiting for this virus to pass through. They're still trying to do things. And the mayor has sent out a correspondence to all of the commissioners to let them know about Shreve Biz and the function of it. He sent the link as well. So helping them with this would also help also with the Shreve Biz.
Commissioner, Vice President Johnson, I didn't hear if you finished that.
Yeah, I'm done.
You know, okay.
I'm done. Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Oh, well, the only thing that I have on this is that I wanted to be clear. Are we doing suspension on things because of the revenue dropping, or will we find funds elsewhere to supplement certain things here based upon their need?
Thank you,
You
Commissioner.
understand my question?
I do. I would like Commissioner Atkins. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to address Roy's question in regard to this. Commissioner Burrell, this came out of economic development. The economic development funding is a different pot of funds than NGOs. Economic development is based on video poker, not riverboat boarding. Although video poker revenues will show an impact, it doesn't seem to have had the degree of impact as quickly. I think they closed the casinos before they closed some of the video poker sites. But all that being said, all the funding will be challenged. But I agree with Commissioner Johnson on this. This is an organization that's trying to support our minority-owned, women-owned small businesses. They are continuing to operate, and it is an organization that that's been in place for a number of years and has a consistent message and approach to the community. So although we have, this came out of the committee, and they were requesting 40,000, we did dial them back to 25,000. But I, as the chair of the Economic Development Committee, would be continuing to support this modest contribution to Strategic Action Council. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr.
Commissioner
President.
Talferro. Give me one sec, Commissioner Burrell. I'll put you on the board after Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Talferro.
I withdraw,
I
Mr. President. I'm good. Commissioner Atkins answered my question.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I was just gonna ask administration, I know we got the email indicating that y'all would be sending out letters indicating that we would be freezing funding. I know I got a phone call from administration. Are y'all still in the process of doing that, or is that on hold? And the second part of my question is if we approve this funding or any other funding, you know, basically would we be able to make the appropriation, or would they basically fall in line? Would they fall in line? Who's going to prioritize if we do decide to go forward with funding some organizations and not funding others due to shortfalls? Who's going to prioritize that? How are we going to work that out?
Okay. Erica, you want to take that question? Unmute yourself.
Sure. I did. I'm sorry, I have to use my cell phone for audio. Commissioner Jackson, we did send out those letters. If these items pass today, we would just still have to look at the numbers. Both video poker and riverboat revenues have been significantly impacted. We would look at the numbers, and if there are budget amendments that are required, then we would have to work with you all, because right now we would not be getting funding in, and we don't have the amount of funds we need to cover all the appropriations. So if it's the commission's desire to continue forward, we would have to need another budget amendment from some other funding source, since we wouldn't have enough funds in these, in both riverboat and economic development.
Okay, thank you. That answers both of my questions. Thank you, Mr. President. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner John Atkins for the second. Unless you're still clicked from last time.
Well, no, this is a question for administration. I've seen the letter regarding NGO funding, the letter from administration suggesting that we curtail all NGO funding. I've not seen a letter to that effect for economic development. Have I missed something? Was there a letter sent out to curtail economic development spending?
No, I don't think we sent one for economic development yet. Have we, Erica?
I know, I believe when we look at the organization as far as funding, I know y'all have NGOs and economic development, but they're all really NGOs. It's just one group is funded from the Economic Development Fund, and one group is funded from the Riverboat Fund. So we looked at the funding for all sources for what we consider those outside organizations that you all are funding, and both of your sources are down right now. So we looked at both sides of those entities. Again, if we need to, these ordinances can go forward. We just have to look at what the amount of monies we're bringing in compared to what you've elected to spend out to fund, and see whether or not we would have to transfer some monies in from another source to cover the cost, which is what we tend to already have to do for the Economic Development Fund.
Okay, so I guess you're still
on the board.
I guess there's been a bit of a definition problem. I understand that oftentimes the administration, or oftentimes we refer to NGOs broadly, but even in your one statement there, Erica, you made reference to economic development and NGOs. So you're saying that the letter you all sent out applies to all NGOs, both the traditional NGO category and the economic development category?
Yes, sir. We look at them as, when you look at your budget, when you describe them, you have the same header in both funds. It's just two different funds. And we, I guess, out of practice, refer to Riverboat as NGOs and then economic development, but they're all NGOs. It's just a funding source that is different for those particular entities.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell, are you still on the board?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Just just as a point of clarification, if I were here doing the budget hearing, I've been a part of that. I guess my first question would have been basically with NGOs being the same, pretty much in terms of non-governmental organizations. How do we make the choice of economic development NGOs coming out of video poker, and I've even heard them coming out of oil and gas, versus other NGOs? Let me use it this way: non-economic development NGOs just coming out of riverboat funds, which is clearly reducing. I mean, how do we differentiate? Is that just something that we put in the policy, and that's what we're doing going forward? The reason why I'm asking is that there are NGOs in which I'm no longer associated with. Let me clarify that again. That create jobs, that does significant work in our community, work that the private sector cannot do because they don't have enough resources to do it. Those NGOs do that kind of work in our communities because they are able to get volunteers and other people, which has in-kind value. What I'm hearing is that we are making a choice between the two. We are seeing all the funds going down, but we're making a choice as to what pot we are pulling it from. And those that are non-economic development, they've already created their budget and added it in, just like the economic development projects. But yet and still they are being left out because they are only tied to riverboat funds. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, is the second of the motion?
Commissioner Epperson, I know you mentioned this before. We had a parliamentary class, and just for a point of clarification, the second of a motion does not necessarily mean that the second gets to speak on the motion, just that the person seconding the originating motion allows the motion to be heard by the full body. So this is when you were working as the director of the cemetery. You weren't here for that class. So we changed things that we did a little bit in the fact that the second.
Well, that's fine then.
Okay.
I got you. Let's just go with I hadn't spoken, and others have had several rounds then.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you on the board. Commissioner Burrell, is that all?
Well, I was asking for an explanation, but if y'all just want to just hear me talk.
No, we really don't.
Commissioner Chavez.
Well, then I suggest that you give me an explanation then if I deserve one.
Hey, Commissioner Chavez.
Go ahead, Dr. Wilson.
Yeah. Commissioner Burrell, it's always been, the commission has always defined which category items are placed in. And it's been our practice for the past several years that the commission will decide whether something is in the economic development pot or whether it's in the NGO pot. But the commission has always differentiated that because how the money was coming in. As Erica said, we had two separate accounts. So we had to differentiate that because of the amount of money we had allocated for each. But the commission at the end of the day tells us what items they want to put in economic development and which ones they want to put in NGOs that are non-economic development in nature.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. And Commissioner, after all the other commissioners speak, I'll definitely address your concerns. I just want to give everybody else their time.
Well, I hope so because I'm confused.
Commissioner Epperson.
I call for the question on the motion.
Now, I've only been up there the whole time.
Right.
I second the motion.
Did you say you seconded that motion, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins, I understand that you've been up there, but in fairness to Commissioner Epperson, I believe that he thought he was
called for the question.
For the second, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I withdraw I didn't know anybody was still up. I apologize.
Okay.
I withdraw my second. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, I wanted to make a substitute motion to englobo 5947, 5948, and delay for 30 days while simultaneously sending back to the respective committees each ordinance for the committees to look over with administration to look at our current budget and our proposed or prospective budget for the rest of 2020 before making decisions on these two ordinances.
I second it.
All right. We've got a motion on the floor and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to speak on that motion?
I think I talked enough right there.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Talaferro.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the substitute motion by Commissioner Hopkins, but I would like to, I don't know if this is proper or not. I think 2 months, based on the report that we received from Haley Barnett, giving us an ample time to let things kind of settle in and to give us a true financial picture of where we are. I think 30 days is not going to be adequate. No offense, Todd, but I'm going based on Haley's recommendations, and she's the finance director and she knows the numbers a lot better than I. So I make a substitute motion to allow at least a 60-day period, a 2-month period for us to kind of let this whole thing shake loose and see exactly what our financial picture is going forward before we allocate any money. Thank you, Mr. President.
Second.
Second that.
Okay.
Point of clarification.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Burrell.
Point of information. In that 2-month period, we can come back prior to that. Is what you just saying is you're giving them 2 months. But if we come back before that and reintroduce these, that's still possible. Because again, I'm supportive of all of this, but at the same time, I'm just a little confused where it appears to the public that we are doing preferences now, and I don't want to be in a position to have to explain that.
And Mr. President, may I address?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, no, my proposal is for 2 full months. So in other words, in that 2 full months, we are not going to be entertaining any additional requests for funding, because I think that would be I don't think that would be prudent and financially respectful or responsible for us to take any action until that 2 months is run its course. And I'm basing that information or my position on the information that we have gotten from our finance director, who said a lot of these numbers are not going to be readily available for us for a period of 60 days. And I think that way, if we do our due diligence and allow this time to run, then we are showing our constituents that we are being financially careful and responsible.
Okay, understood.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner LBJ.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the new commissioners, basically when I saw the report from Haley, I thought that was just for our information. I didn't know that it went out to the NGOs and the economic development people. It's actually our decision on whether we fund those or not. The staff basically gives us a recommendation or the data to say, this is what we have or this is what we don't have. So it's not their decision, it's our decision to make if we fund these or not. The funding can come from the reserve fund in that particular fund, or we can take it from other funds. So it's our decision. I know Roy asked a question about who makes that decision, and it's the commissioner's decision to make that and not the staff. The staff give us the data, the information that we need in order to make it, but it's still our decision.
Point of clarification.
Well, hold on, let me finish first before you get clarification. It's just that they give us the information and then we basically go from there. Because of the other funds, once we approve the budget, that's done. And so what I was going to do at the end of this meeting, and when we got down to communicators again, was to request that Haley give me a report of all of the NGOs and basically a synopsis of what they're trying to do for funding. And based upon the synopsis of the funding, then I will call a NGO meeting to then reevaluate how we will fund those NGOs. The NGO committee will be working a lot this year based upon what we approved in 2019, because that was an estimate of what they were expecting in 2020. Well, nobody knew that we will have coronavirus 19 in 2020. So with the casinos being shut down for the month of basically March, April, and maybe some of May, depending on whenever the governor opens back up the casinos, that would be a month or so of income loss. I believe that when the casinos do open back up, it might take 30 or 60 days, but eventually the casinos will get back to where they were. Even if people got to sit in the casinos with a mask on, some people are in the urge of, I want to get out the house. I want to go gamble. I want to try to see if I can make some money. So we have to look at that and then make sure that we are prudent with the dollars that we do have, and then say, this is what we need to do. So that gives Haley time to look at all the organizations, to look and see what their expectations was of parish dollars. Because if they was using money in January through March and they haven't got a cooperative endeavor agreement, then basically we could eliminate them. Or if their funding mechanism was tutoring, well, half of the school year is already gone. So you're only looking at the fall to do. So you can adjust those dollars just as well. So we need to look at each organization that we've already funded. And if we bring in some new ones, we need to see what their mechanism is as well, to see where they fall in to the whole game of the 2020. And if we need to adjust it again, we'll adjust it again. But it's not as if we're going to say, this is this and that's final. We got to be able to come back and say, hey, look, and I appreciate the pause and say, look, we're going to suspend everything for a while. I would have suggested that even if the administration hadn't done it, but we need to look at it and see, because if an organization said they will do tutoring in the spring and from January to May, and that hasn't happened and can't happen, then they would have been paying us money back. So we just need to look at that. And once I get the report from Haley, which I'll ask for that and communicate at the end, that we'll get that information, and then we'll have a committee meeting, and then we'll assess what we have from that point on. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell, to answer your question and last on the board meeting.
Well, I had a point of information with Commissioner Johnson.
Go ahead, Commissioner Burrell.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, I understand what you're saying, and I can appreciate that. If you would have gotten my email today, I addressed that issue in that email because I was concerned that we had not had another NGO meeting, under your chairmanship, since Haley had sent out that email saying that they were suspending it. There were a couple of questions that I asked in there because I needed to know as a commissioner. Because as you said, Haley's in the administration. We decide where the money goes. I'm a commissioner too. I actually sit on the committee. I sit in on the Economic Development Committee. I do that, although I cannot vote because I am a commissioner, and eventually I will have to vote for it. So, I would be interested in the economic development projects as well as the the non-economic development NGO information, because I'm just an information merchant. I've learned that over the years in government. It's not to be against anything, it's to have the knowledge that I can intelligently speak to it, especially when we were talking about funding pots. So that was my position on it. I agree with you. At some point, the committee need to look at it. But if we're taking money from different pots and it's the decision of the commissioners to do that, then I would like to know what the priorities are and how we are placing those priorities, because everybody's issue is important to them and you're going to have to answer to them. We do as commissioners.
And I totally agree with that. But like I said earlier, it's the parish commissioners, not the staff, responsibility to either to take it or suspend the spending of that particular fund. And so it's our decision to suspend and not the staff. The staff can recommend that we suspend it, but we still have to make sure that we vote on it to suspend it and not the staff. That's what I'm saying.
And that's what we're doing now as commissioners.
Well, no, we hadn't voted on to suspend it or not. It's just the fact that they gave us the information, and basically we need to, if we need to put it on the agenda for next time to suspend it, we have to do that. It's not staff to say that we suspend it, it's us to say that we suspend it, the commission.
Well, I just didn't know who did it, because I just got the email and the email didn't tell me who suspended it. Mr.
Commissioners, let's wrap this up. I know I saw Ms. Bryant. I know you wanted to make a comment on that. And Commissioner Atkins, will you yield to Ms. Bryant?
No, I won't right now, Commissioner, because I think we had Commissioner Stormygage's watch hand had been up for quite a while and we were not recognizing her. And now it looks like she's fallen off the board, but I think it's important that we give her a chance to say whatever she needs to say.
I agree. I saw her turn her hand off, so I thought she didn't want to talk after all.
I think she's fallen off, so I yield back.
Okay. Ms. Bryant, did you want to make some clarification between Commissioner Johnson and Burrell?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to clarify, administration did not make a decision. We do not have the authority to continue to pay expenses that we do not have the revenue for. That's all we were communicating. As of right now, we're not bringing in revenue. So there is nothing giving us the authority to pay costs that we're not receiving. So that was how the suspension came about. We're not receiving funds. And so until such time the commission takes some further action to provide either some additional funds or the funds start to come back in, we have no authority in order to continue to pay those costs. We are not prioritizing any expenses. There are some that have already been made. What we're saying is that we cannot continue to pay if we don't have actual funds coming in. And all indications are we will not have those funds. And based on the analysis, and even based on the reserves in those funds, you're talking about two funds that have very low reserve funds. So even with the reserves, we do not have enough money to continue to pay costs in those particular funds. So we didn't necessarily make a decision. We couldn't, based on the charter, we can't continue to pay money if we don't have the funds coming in. So yes, the commission would have to make a decision, and until such a decision is made, we cannot continue to pay those funds.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, commissioners. We can call it NGO or we can call it economic development, but at the end of the day, just like at my business, at anyone else's business, you have different funds. You have your marketing fund, you have your payroll, but at the end of the day, if you have no money in the bank account, it doesn't matter what you call those funds and where you try to extract those funds from. We're in a situation where all of our fund balances are decreasing because we're not gaining any revenue. So I'm going to go ahead and support Commissioner Talaferro's substitute motion because I think it would be very smart for us to wait 2 months to see what's going on. There's a lot of good NGOs and economic developments that we work with and that they do worthwhile endeavors. However, if we can't help them, if we can't even help ourselves, it may be the time to say, let's stop, let's look at what Haley and Erica are going to provide for us before we can make a decision on helping anybody else out if we can't even help ourselves out. So,
Mr. President, that was my only point.
Okay,
You're making my point for me.
thank you, Commissioner Braille. Commissioner Gage Watts is back on the board. I'd like to hear what she has to say. I know you fell off, Commissioner Watts.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Atkins, for making reference of me being on the board. I appreciate that. I had to get off. I had to take a call. But I'm glad, Mr. President, that you brought that up, that we really don't know where the projections are going to go based up on, we don't know how long we're going to be in this pandemic. With that being said, there is going to be a lot of people, I think Commissioner Johnson said, that are going to be quickly going back to the casinos. All of them won't be purchasing TVs. A lot of them are saving their money to just go to the casinos and to the poker machines. So if we're basing our decision based on what the projection could be, that could go in either direction. I also wanted to ask legal, can those dollars be repurposed if we are funding them?
Commissioner, as to whether those dollars can be repurposed, they would still have to be done for legal purposes. However, it is not our practice to do a cooperative endeavor agreement for change purposes unless you all as a body approve them first.
Okay.
And none of it can be done, and I believe, until we have a revenue source.
Okay. Okay, that was my comment and my question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Nations, roll call vote, please. And please tell them what they're voting on.
Okay, so it was a motion made by or substitute motion made by Commissioner Talaferro, seconded by Mr. Hopkins, that ordinance number 5947 and ordinance number 5948 be delayed for 2 months. And they go back to the appropriate committee meetings prior to making a decision on those ordinances.
Sounds good.
I got a point of clarification.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Johnson.
So Commissioner Talaferro had a substitute to Commissioner Hopkins' motion. So we'll vote on Commissioner Talaferro and then we'll vote on Commissioner Hopkins if it doesn't pass.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, roll call vote. Hopkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Jackson?
Commissioner Jackson?
Young?
Yes.
Burrell?
Yes.
Cawthorn?
Yes.
Gage Watts?
No.
Taliaferro?
If I can interrupt, maybe I just missed the mark here. We're voting on Commissioner.
On your motion, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Chavez?
Yes.
Lazarus?
Yes.
Epperson?
No.
Commissioner Jackson, I saw that you just joined us again. What was your vote?
I don't see Commissioner Jackson on the board.
I just admitted him to it, but he doesn't have his audio on. So we have 8 yays, 3 nays, and 1 absent.
Am I there? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir, you're here. What was your vote?
What are we voting on?
It was a motion by Taliaferro, seconded by Hopkins, that ordinance number 5947 and 5948 be delayed for 2 months and be forwarded back to the appropriate committees prior to making a decision on those ordinances.
This is on the NGOs. So I'm sorry. I had some technical difficulties. I missed most of the debate. So we're sending, and I'm just asking for a point of clarification, Mr. Chair, Mr. President. So we're sending, the motion is to send them back to committee or to just postpone them?
To delay both of those ordinances, but to go back to committees, go back to the committees regarding the funding source and the revenue source.
I'll probably vote no for some. I don't think they need to go back to the committee. I'm for postponement. I don't know about going back to the committee, so I'll vote no.
Vote no?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 8 yeas, 4 nays. That motion passed. Now we move to ordinance number 5949 of 2020, an ordinance to deem property surplus and authorize the sale of surplus properties.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
That's moved by Commissioner LBJ and seconded by Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner LBJ, would you like to speak on your motion?
No.
All right. I see no commissioners on the board. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yeas.
All right.
Now we move to, we have no zoning ordinances for introduction by title. Now we move to ordinances for introduction by title. Ordinance number 5950 of 2020, an ordinance to establish the salary of the commission clerk pursuant to 3-10 of the Home Rule Charter for Caddo Parish, to adopt a compensation schedule for that position and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Ordinance
Citizens,
number,
you want to go ahead and do this the same way?
sir, these are for introduction by title.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Deputy Nations.
You're welcome. Ordinance number 5951, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $10,000 to provide an appropriation for Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Number 5952, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $8,489 to provide an appropriation for the Safe Summer Program for funds remaining at December 31st, 2019. Ordinance number 5953 of 2020, an ordinance to donate surplus property under Chapter 19, Article 2, Division 3 of the Code of Ordinances relative to donation of adjudicated property acquired by the parish under LARS 472236 to authorize the donation of property to Northwest Louisiana Community Development Corporation for a public purpose. Ordinance number 5954 of 2020, an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication of Belmar Drive in the parish of Caddo. Ordinance number 5956 of 2020, an ordinance authorizing expenditure for the Reserve Trust Fund for the year 2020 to provide LSU HSC an appropriation of up to $175,000 to perform COVID-19 testing and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Now we need to ratify work session minutes from March 16th, 2020.
So
Move
moved.
to adopt.
Got a motion by
Seconded.
Stormy and seconded by LBJ.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Jackson has his hand raised, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Jackson.
Yes, Attorney Frazier, Ms. Nations, one or the other. The ordinances we just introduced by title, they wouldn't have been on for final adoption today, because I thought we introduced purpose of us moving us, the
breaking up
session. I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
I'm having technical challenges. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought the purpose of us moving those instruments to today and adding the work session meeting on Monday was so that we could have enough readings, or did we determine that that wouldn't be enough reading, reading by titles to move them forward to do final adoption today?
We moved them from a work session to this. The motion, I can't remember the date, but the motion was from a work session to forward them to today's date for introduction by title.
Okay, I thought the point was that we would be reading them by title, because Because basically they were read by title on Monday. They were just on consent agenda on Monday. Is that correct?
No, sir, they were not read by title.
Attorney Frazier, the consent agenda isn't a reading by title?
No, sir. They would have had to have been read by title at the last commission meeting or at the one previously in order to be
Regular
on
session.
final passage today. The last regular session, yes.
Regular. Okay, so it coincides with the regs. Okay, I wanted to make sure because I was lost. I was like, is that it? Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay,
Please vote.
we are voting on ratifying the work session minutes for March 16th, 2020. Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins, Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yays. Now we need to ratify the work session minutes from April 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So moved by Hopkins and second
Right.
by Commissioner Stormy Watts.
Hopkins,
No one on the
Yes.
board, please vote.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
We have 12 yays. Now we move to resolutions. Resolution number 16 of 2020, a resolution to authorize the Caddo Parish Administrator to execute and authorize the Louisiana State Mineral and Energy Board and the
Move to
Office.
adopt.
Second.
I'd
Motion
like
by-
to be on the board, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Hopkins, do you want to speak on that?
No, I would just like to say in the future, if Public Works would please put the district that this is coming from, it would be helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, this is going to be drilling for natural gas.
I believe so. Yes, I believe so.
Okay, at this point in time, I know oil is negative barrel. How are we on natural gas? Would it be in our best interest maybe if we wait and is natural gas in a debacle at this point in time? I guess that would go to Mr. Glass if he's on now. He's the one that does.
No, he's not on at this present time, Commissioner.
But you see what I'm talking about? Oil is a negative.
Yes, sir. This is
He came back up, Ken. Ken, they came back up.
How's natural gas?
Yeah, it's natural gas. I'm not sure on the price, but I think it's all relative because they agree to the terms that we agree to in terms of what we get for lease royalty payments.
Oh, okay. Well,
I can speak to that.
all right.
Chairman.
Commissioner Epperson, I'm going to allow Commissioner Atkins. He's got the answer you're looking for.
Okay.
Commissioner Epperson, gas prices have, to Commissioner Johnson's point, gas prices have strengthened in recent weeks as oil prices decline. There's likely to be a decrease in the production of associated gas. So the market believes that there'll be less gas on the market in the future. So the gas futures are actually increasing looking forward. So I don't think hopefully we won't see gas tank anytime soon. Thank you very much.
10-4.
Commissioner. I see no other commissioners on the board. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
You're muted, Jim.
I get it. Yes. Thanks, Ed.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
That was 12 yeas. Now we move to resolution number 17 of 2020, a resolution to urge and request Congress to make changes to the Medicaid exclusion provision and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Got a motion by the chair and a second by Commissioner Watts. Commissioner Watts, would you like to explain this or would you like me to do it?
If I can get it, okay. If you would like to, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like the explanation. Thank you.
Sure, commissioners. The parish has to pay the medical for CCC whenever the pretrial detainees go to CCC. For all the medical expenses, we have to cover that. So what Commissioner Watts, myself, and Jackson would like is to urge the federal government to allow them to keep their Affordable Care Act coverage when they go into CCC, so they will be medically covered, so it doesn't fall back on the parish. It's pretty much the gist of it. It may be a pie in the sky dream, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So I think the more we ask them to foot the bill for it, the less we'll have to pay for the parish taxpayers. That's the hopes. Commissioner LBJ.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to englobo resolution 17, resolution 18, resolution 19, resolution 20, resolution 21, resolution 22, resolution 25, resolution 26, resolution 27, and that's it.
Second.
Send global and adopt, because I know Donna listening.
Okay. I'll second that. Commissioner LBJ, do you want to make a comment on the motion?
No.
Okay. I have Taliaferro, then Jackson, then Burrell.
Okay, so yeah, I just want some clarification. There was a lot of in globos, so you kind of lost me there, so bear with me. Well, heck, I don't even know where to start. The one of those in globos was not resolution 27 of 2020, was it?
Yes, that was the last one.
Okay.
Would you like to take that one out or something?
Well, I just had some clarifications. I understand I don't know if this is out of order, Mr. President, so correct me. I just had some questions on the CBDG. I know that there's two formulas for allocating funds. And the way I understand it is the Police Jury Association wants to do away with those two formulas because it is not it's not balanced in its disbursement of funds. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm going to get.
Well, I can.
Yeah, Commissioner, would you allow Commissioner Jackson to answer that question?
Yeah, anybody with explanations, fine. I just have
Commissioner Everson's resolution.
Okay, need me to answer that?
Actually, Commissioner Epperson's the author. Commissioner Epperson, if you'd like to, I'd like to hear that.
Okay. All this is we are asking any current or future CARES money that come down in wake of this pandemic
it be allowed to come to our counties as well as our parishes. Oftentimes, it goes through the government, and then that way politics gets involved, and when it get down to the counties or the parishes, it's not that much left. We have to sort of fight at the scrap. So we're asking for this resolution to go along with the overall wishes of NACO also, who was right up there with Congress while they are lobbying on behalf of these packages now to give our blessing to that and have those wishes conveyed to Congress. And that means those monies will come direct to the parish for costs that we incur.
Okay, so we're not saying, so we're basically saying that the formulas that they're currently using don't work in this particular situation,
Right.
because states that have a low COVID population or positive population would get the same amount of money as those like Louisiana who have a significant higher. Is that what I'm understanding?
Not necessarily. It's the monies that each state get, instead of being given through the government or some other entity in accordance with the CDBG, the way that they divide it up, it would have an amount that's allocated directly to the parish.
Oh, instead of the state.
Right. It come direct to us. Instead of having a third party play with our money, we want it direct to us based upon our needs.
So you don't have an issue with the formula that they use. You just have an issue with how it's distributed.
Right. At this particular point in time with this situation.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're gonna have Jackson, Burrell, Atkins, then Hopkins.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. And Attorney Frazier, I see you with a thumbs up. Does that mean you want to get on the board too?
No, sir, that did not. That was because Commissioner Johnson acknowledged that I was listening and went back and clarified his motion.
I got you. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if it fully applied, but on the Prime Master, I know that it's my understanding that they furloughed their workers until I guess I'm not sure what they're doing out there. They're supposed to be, I guess, gearing back up under the new organization that they have. And I know they furloughed some of the workers, I'd say most of the workers. Is there any information out there as to what goal they have in terms of bringing them back? That's just, I'm throwing that out there just as for a constituent.
If any commissioners know that answer, get on the board and I'll recognize you, but I wouldn't know the answer, Commissioner Burrell.
My understanding of the ITEP was that they was trying to retain the current workers that they have,
right,
and not hire any new, but to retain what they had. So if they're gonna retain what they had, that means they retaining the workforce that they had. So if they prematurely lay some off, that they could bring them back with the project.
Yeah, well, that's my understanding. The reason why I asked the question, it is for retention. It is for job retention.
Yes.
And if it's for retention and you have furloughed workers, my question was, by participating in this, and I understand that they are trying to re-up themselves, is there any potential date for furloughed workers?
Do we know of? Not that we know of.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was wondering if Commissioner Johnson would please pull resolution number 26 from his in globo so that we could vote on that independently.
You making a friendly amendment to my motion?
Yeah. I'm asking you to consider pulling that for me.
Okay, I could do that to
Thank you, sir.
shorten the time that we on this call.
All right, and Commissioner Hopkins.
I had the same question. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, so No other commissioners on the board?
Commissioner Jackson's on the
Feel
board.
like Commissioner Jackson trying to say something.
Commissioner Jackson.
Take it on mute.
I do have a question here with Frymaster. If we have postponed providing funding and allocations of parish resources to NGOs and economic development organizations, would it not be, and I guess this is a question for administration, because just like we would be giving out revenue and resources in the form of NGO checks and allocations, this is going to be a rebate. So those are going to be dollars that are going to be leaving the parish's coffers. And so would it not be wise to get a financial position on where we are? I was not aware of the furlough situation, but my question just in general is, do we have the financial means and capacity and resources? Because I just heard us have a pretty, and I dropped off a little bit, but we had a pretty robust debate and conversation of postponing. I would just call them maybe gifts to non-parish organizations. So I'm just trying to get some clarity on where does administration feel we stand financially to be able to provide tax breaks or incentives to organizations.
Yeah. Commissioner Jackson, I would suggest as the administrator that we allow this one to proceed because this application was made far in advance of any COVID situation taking place. So to stay within the spirit and intent of the program, I think we should go forward because these are not revenues, these are tax revenues for inventory and ad valorem tax that we would have to assess later on. So I would think we still want them to make the investment that would lead to sustainability of the existing workforce. And in that light, I think we should move forward with the project.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have LBJ and then Commissioner Burrell.
Yes, I was just gonna say, in respect to the ITEP program, you know, basically if a company is making a project and
Commissioner, I'm not debating it. I'm good with it. If the administration feel we good,
I just want to make sure that the newer commissioners understand this, is that, you know, with a manufacturing company, if they turn around and they put a project out there and it's to retain jobs or to hire new people, in this case, it's to retain some jobs. So when you go out and do say a $6 million project, you're not getting a tax exempt on the whole $6 million. You get a tax exempt on a percentage of maybe 1 million or even $500,000. The rest of it is already taxed. And so with that, you're asking for a 80-20. So, you know, you're not even getting 100% tax exempt. We're still gonna get 20% of the revenues, even if we go along with it. And so I always make the example of, if you're a homeowner and you go in and you remodel your home, will you turn around and say, tax exemption, come out to my house and reassess my house? No, you're not gonna do that. So same thing with a manufacturer. The manufacturing industry really is taking a bad rap on this because other industries can go in and do an upgrade and not be assessed an additional tax. So that's something I was saying to the new commissioners, that it's not like giving us a black eye. It's actually doing something good for our community and for the workers that work in that Frymaster or working in the manufacturing industry.
Nobody said it was giving us a black eye. I just asked the question.
I'm just letting the new commissioners know. You don't have to go through all them facial expressions and everything. I'm just telling you what I'm saying.
Let's get it
as
on.
opposed
Let's
to the
get
new,
the show on the road.
new commissioners.
All right, girls.
No, I ain't no girl now. I'm strictly a man.
Mr. President. Mr. President, I think I'm up next.
Mario is on you, babe.
Let's go.
We lost him.
Hey,
Let's try
sorry about
again.
that. You there?
We're here.
Okay.
Mr.
Commissioner
President.
Burrell?
Okay, I just wanted to make a point of clarification here too, that my idea of tax exemption is money that we have not received yet. So it's not like we're expending anything up front. So it's just to help support the argument that's being made.
Donna Frazier.
Commissioner, I was just going to make the point. I think that Commissioner Burrell just made is that we haven't actually received any revenue yet. I think, and the problem with the other organizations is that there is not sufficient revenue in order to continue funding, and that the commission just needs to make a decision about that revenue. That is all that the emails and letters have expounded so far. And you all voted to, of course, defer that to when you all will have time to look at it. But that would be the difference between these two types of asks.
Dr. Wilson made that clear in his first response, y'all.
All right, thank you, commissioners. I see no one else on the board. Please vote.
Commissioner Lazarus just got on the board.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lazarus.
We're good. Go ahead.
Okay, the motion, it was made by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Chavez to englobo and adopt resolutions number 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, and 27. Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young, Commissioner Young, Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, now we move to resolution number, oh, that was 12 yeas. Now we move to resolution number 26, a resolution urging and requesting that persons subject to a stay-at-home order during an emergency be allowed to vote by absentee ballot and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Substitute motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by, who was that?
Me, LBJ.
LBJ? Okay.
I'd like to make a substitute.
All right, Commissioner Burrow, give me 1 second. Let me allow Commissioner Epperson to speak on his motion. Commissioner Epperson?
Okay. What I'm asking here is very minor. Everything is already in place. We can vote by mail ballot, the absentee ballot. Of course, we do have one part of it where you attain the age of 65. If you're hospitalized or you're disabled, or if you're a student that's away in school, it's all in place. Everything is actually in place. However, with the situation that we have involving the COVID-19 pandemic, individuals should not have to risk their lives to vote. And in essence, if we have to physically go to the poll and the stay home or the stay shelter or the isolation ordinances are in place, I think it's unconscionable that someone would make physical individuals go out to polling places personally, where their health and their safety might be jeopardized. If we look at the voting that was just held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin last week, the lines were long, they were tedious. The majority of the poll workers refused to come out and subject themselves to that amount of people coming physically to the polls. They had a significant amount of polls that were supposed to have been utilized, but I think they did all of Milwaukee with, I believe, about 5 or 6, about 6 polls that was open for all of those people in Milwaukee, Wisconsin to come and vote. There was a news release the other day that I think 19 persons had contacted the COVID-19 virus. Some commissioners at the polls, as well as individuals that came to vote. And of course, it will probably run higher with that amount that's been subjected. I think it's unconscionable that anybody would vote against or do anything to impede one of our most coveted rights afforded us under the Constitution. One of our rights that really was the impotence of our revolution, partly from Britain. So many patriots lost their lives there. The world wars that we've gone through. I think it'll be an affront to all of our military persons that have served. 64% that lost their lives in Vietnam from the Army. 82% from the Marine Corps that lost their lives in Vietnam for this right. 50% from the Navy that lost their lives for this right. 23% from the Air Force that lost their lives for that right. And what's so significant, and I focus on this Vietnam era, I, as an 18-year-old, went in. I could die at 18. I could be drafted. I could drink beer at 18 years old. It cost 10 cents a can at Fort Polk and on the military bases. I could smoke cigarettes, 15 cents a pack. Cigarettes was in our C rations. And of those figures that I just read to you about those lives that were lost in Vietnam, that's between the ages of 17 and 21. And when I went in, and everyone went in within that period of time, you had to be 21 years old to vote, register and vote. You could die, you could be drafted, you could get drunk, drink alcohol, you could smoke cigarettes, but you could not vote. Anything that we can do that can make it easy to vote should not be an issue, no way, form, or fashion. 2 words that I've seen within the last 10 to 15 years, that's patriot and freedom. And I've seen a lot of denigration of the stars and stripes, people flying them backwards. I've seen freedom come to say they should have something in front of it saying my freedom or our freedom, not freedom based upon the Constitution of the United States. I hear we should not be petitioning the governor. We should not be petitioning the state legislature. That's not their purview. It is our purview. We're responsible for housing the register of voters office. We're responsible for salary. We hire the register of voters. We pay the leases on the polling places. We help pay the workers. So this should be an easy decision. And a resolution is only a petition. We have a right to petition any form of government, including the president, Congress on down. That's our right. And all we're asking for is utilize the technology that we have. Do not make it legal, or do not force a person to go and vote when they're in the process of losing their life. So I ask your support and your vote for that petition and that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell, and then Talaferro.
Okay, Mr. President, I was making a substitute motion to add mail-in ballots, and if I can get a second, I will explain why. We can vote it down up. I mean, that doesn't matter, but I want to get an opportunity to explain it.
I'll second so you can.
Second.
All right. Got a motion from Commissioner Burrell and a second by Stormy Watts.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Burrell, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I will not repeat a lot of what Ken has said, because what he's saying is from the heart. He fought in the war. I was going to Vietnam at the same time Vietnam was shutting down in '75. So I have a feeling for that too, because my brother was there. They were getting ready to send him over. The same company that he was going over in, all of them got killed at that time that they were going to send him over. He just got an exemption for some reason. I guess the Lord was with him. But I'm saying that to say this on the mail-in. Texas, our neighbor, has just gotten the mail-in ballot upheld by the district court to allow their residents to vote by mail only because of this COVID virus. That is the exception to the rule. They will be voting by mail in their primary, which was just extended to July 14th, and also in the general as it stands. I sent out an email today to let you know that it's not on appeal, but there is talk of appealing it. But as of right now, the district court has upheld it. The mail-in voting is done in Texas today for 65 and older. And now that's today. That's not based upon this court ruling. Today they can do mail-in voting. 65 and older, disabled, or if you're out of the country. Now they will be able to do it regardless because of the exposure to this virus. My concern coming from state government that I don't think that we are recognizing, and I'm sure in Wisconsin, which was a perfect example of the voters using distancing and in many cases masks, and you still had people who caught the virus. It's just that dangerous. And I don't think that we recognize that or want to appreciate that fact. We can make excuses for it, but we still haven't justified putting people in harm's way for one of our most privileged opportunities that we have here in this country. And what I'm looking for, and I'm really hoping for, that some of those who actually caught the virus in Wisconsin, that they will sue the government. Now, you won't hear me say this very often, but I really do, because sometimes government has to learn a lesson. And if there are lawsuits against the government, and it will go against the Secretary of State, and it could very well come against us, that people catch this virus and they can verify that it was done based upon this election where we put people in harm's way, it becomes a liability, and that liability would be on us. And if we're sued, then we have some problems because we don't have money as it is. So that's my whole point in this mail-in balloting. I received something from Commissioner Talaferro, and I appreciate that because he did some due diligence to come up with some information, but I did come up with some that was a little contrary to that. You can find anything out there on the internet. You just have to make sure that it's correct. Much of what he put in his email was correct that I checked, but there were a few things that I did not exactly find. Not that it's not there, it's just that I didn't find it. But I appreciate him taking the time and putting forth an explanation to us so that we can all learn. I think we all really want to vote and do it right. But I think that at this point, when we put our people in jeopardy, we're we're dealing with a different animal here. So with that said, that is my substitute motion, Mr. Chairman, to add the mail-in ballots to the resolution. All you're doing is urging and requesting. We do it all the time. We did it at the state level to the federal level. So that's where we are. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Burrell, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think my resolution, that's what it alludes to. It'll be mail-in ballots.
Well, absentee ballots and
mail.
Absentee ballots and mail-in ballots. I think those they're a little different. They're very similar, but they're a little different. Or else they wouldn't have specified in Texas that you can do absentee and mail-in.
We'll get maybe Attorney Frazier to clarify that, but in the meantime, Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. With all due respect to Mr. Epperson, and I appreciate, again, as most of you have gotten my email for, this is basically so I would be clear on, what I believe is going forward. I think I'm going to ask for clarification from Commissioner Epperson, is that what I believe you are asking for is that anytime that the population is under a stay-at-home order, you're asking for absentee or mail-in ballots if we choose to have an election. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm asking primarily what brought this up was because of this situation that we are currently in, because we can catch this disease. It's probably going to become more prevalent. That's what I'm asking for right now about the situation that we are dealing with now. And I would ask Attorney Frazier, the way that we crafted it, I thought that was quite succinct.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to continue. No, so my question still is that under what you're proposing is that under a stay-at-home order, as I mentioned in my email to you, which we're pretty much in, we're making mail-in ballots the standard in a situation such as the COVID, where persons are subject to a stay-at-home order.
I'm speaking in reference to this situation that we are under now, based upon the safety concerns.
Okay, then my concern is whether you call it absentee, and the absentee is entirely different than mail-in ballot. My concern has always been is that we are jeopardizing the integrity of our system, the voter system, where people are encouraged to get out and go vote. Nobody is raising any, of course, there's a health issue or health risk, I suppose, getting out and about, going to Home Depot, Walmart, the grocery store, but yet people are willing to do that. And I think that if you want to vote bad enough and you're able to vote bad enough, this has nothing to do with the provision that deals with hospitalization or illness. You're talking about healthy, able-bodied citizens that are registered voters, have the choice or are entitled to send in a mail-in vote or a mail-in ballot because we're under a stay-at-home order. And again, we're under a stay-at-home order now, except for those businesses which are seen a necessity. But yeah, you see people going to Walmart and going to all these other ones I just mentioned. So obviously, I'm not supporting the resolution only because, primarily because that I think I think there's just too many avenues for fraud, as I mentioned, in my email, and I think most of you that read my email, have all the facts, so I'm not going to repeat it. But I do appreciate you putting forth this effort, but I'll be voting no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I made the substitute motion.
Commissioner Hopkins and then LBJ.
Yes, basically this is some information for everyone. the Secretary of State is responsible for coming up with a plan for elections like this, which he has done. He has a proposed election plan. It went to the Senate and House of Governmental Affairs yesterday. It came out of each committee favorably. Ballots have been sent to the House members. Matter of fact, I'm aware of a couple House members already voting their ballot to send back in. So I'm not sure it was taken care of where it belongs with the Secretary of State. I think we're a little behind. And at this time, this resolution is not needed anymore.
Could we ask him what it was? What was the basis?
Well, one of the things he is doing in his plan was to change early voting from 7 days to 13 days. It also expanded the absentee voting to go along with the COVID-19. And but it also kept walk-up voting available in areas. They're going to have to work because they're going to have poll workers, and a lot of times those poll workers are older. So he's working on that plan. But this plan's got to be approved by the legislature. First and foremost, a plan has been put in to the legislature. Now we're waiting for the legislature to send back in their ballots. And then we'll know whether his plan will move forward or if they'll have to come up with another plan. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner.
Back to me. Are you saying it's back to me?
You want to get on the board?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Commissioner Burrell, did you want to get on the board? I got you on there. After LJ, I'll get you, Commissioner Burrell.
Okay, because I have the substitute motion.
Vice President, you're still on mute.
Commissioner Atkins was before Commissioner Johnson.
Right, I thought it was Atkins before me, so.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you very much. I call for the question.
Same thing I was gonna do.
There we go.
Second.
Well, then we got our second. Okay.
Second.
Before we vote, I wanted to withdraw my second on that motion because I know that it's going to come back up.
Okay.
I'm calling for the question, so I will withdraw my second.
Point of,
Call for the question.
Clarification. Well, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A clarification on that, because she drew a second on my motion. And I wanted to.
Well, the question has been called on the previous motion then.
Right.
Okay. On Ken's motion.
Yes, correct.
Yes, sir.
So so the first vote will be on calling for the question, and then the second vote will be on Commissioner Epperson's motion.
Yes.
Deputy Nations, please roll call.
Okay, for calling for the question, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yeah.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro. Commissioner Taliaferro,
You muted, Jim.
I'll get this. Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, since Gage Watts withdrew her second from the substitute motion, we'll go to Mr. Epperson's motion, which is to approve resolution number 26 of 2020.
And Deputy Nations, before we vote, I saw Attorney Frazier. Is there something legally that you wanted to add that you need to advise us of before we take this vote?
Attorney Commissioner, I don't think so. I think if anybody has questions about the difference between this resolution and the difference in what Commissioner Hopkins spoke about, I can speak to that, but otherwise, that would be all I have.
Under communiques, because I actually had a question about that, so we'll do that later. I appreciate you. Deputy Nations, roll call vote.
Hopkins,
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
No.
Chavez,
No.
Lazarus,
No.
Epperson.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Taliaferro, would you like to change your vote?
yes, please.
Okay.
That was my mistake.
Nations, please reflect that Commissioner Taliaferro changed his vote to a no.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 yays and 5 nays. So that passed. Now we move to old business, confirm appointments to the Charter Review Committee, 6 to be selected. The candidates are Tom Arsenault, Major Roland Coleman, RJ Johnson, Ken Kraft, Calvin Lester, Randall Lyles, Rudy Morton, Joyce Rogers, Dr. Melva Christie Turner Williams, and Ryan Williams.
I'd like to make a motion that we only consider the ones that we have resumes for.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Vice President Johnson, would you like to speak on that motion?
Would read the resumes. How many resumes we have?
You have 8.
Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have several submitted today.
You should have 8.
Let me double count here. Let's see.
Madam Clerk, would you call the names of the individuals that you have resumes for?
Yes, sir. We have Arsenault, Ken Kraft, Calvin Lester, Randall Lyles, Rudy Morton. Let's see, who's this?
So we have 9.
Last name is Roland Coleman, Ryan Williams, Joyce Rogers, Melva Williams.
So we have 9.
Yes.
Right, that's 9.
That's what I got.
And yes, sir, that's all of them.
So it makes it a little easier. We only got to eliminate 3.
I'm sorry, can you repeat who we have resumes on? I wasn't even paying attention.
Why don't we repeat who we don't have a resume for on that list?
Only one you don't have is RJ Johnson.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, let's see. He was told, let's see. He was told he needed to submit an application, not a resume. So,
Does he have an application?
yes.
We got it.
I have a resume for Mr. Johnson for previous things.
That's probably why he was told not to submit one, because we had one already. He was just told to apply, and we put him on the list.
Okay. Well, that motion don't. If you told him that and that was his deal, then that motion I withdraw my motion.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Johnson. I think RJ would be a great candidate.
So do we have a process?
Yeah, what I'm thinking, commissioners, is we have 6 to be selected, and you know which 6 you're gonna pick. So we can just go in chronological order as they appear. And you vote yes, so you have 6 yeses. So when Deputy Nations calls Tom Arsenault, if that's one of your 6, you press the yes, and then we'll count all the votes.
We'll have to do it by roll call vote, right? Yeah,
That's correct.
So we'll give the commissioners a minute or two. Please look at your worksheets and put your 6 tallies by the candidate of your choice if you have not already. And then we'll go forward with the roll call vote.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready for the roll call vote.
Commissioners, as you're ready, raise your hand on the participation, or Commissioner Epperson, give me a shout.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Ready?
Mr. Chairman, point
Yes, sir, Commissioner Brown.
Point of information. I noticed, and no reflection on anybody, I noticed that some commission only recommended one and others recommended more than one, which could fly in the face of those who actually only recommended one, because that's what I understood, that we were supposed to recommend one. Would a substitute motion be in order?
You definitely have the right to do that. If you can gain a second and a vote, you absolutely can.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we would vote on how would you state that? I'm trying to get it to where each commissioner at least will have one, because if not, then it goes against the other commissioners, and I think that's a bit fair. I don't know how to craft that motion, but
are you, Commissioner Burrell, are you stating your motion would like to be that a commissioner can only submit one name, or that you would like to add a name?
right, that they and that way they can choose the one that they have, and then giving everybody else an opportunity to have at least a person in the race.
Okay, I know Commissioner Vice President Johnson had something to say about that. Commissioner Johnson, do you want to say?
Okay, I respect it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, I mean, we shouldn't be changing the rules midstream or at the very end. If there wasn't a rule at the beginning, it should be a rule at the end. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recommended more than one person. I never heard that we could only recommend one person. So that's why I recommended multiple people, because some commissioners didn't recommend nobody at all. So if you want to do that, I mean, you give at least the opportunity of commissioners who did not recommend nobody the opportunity to pick up multiple ones that I did.
Well, if that be the
so
case,
I mean, they still could stay on the list, even if you do that. I mean, but at least give the opportunity for other commissioners to say, well, I'll pick up this one from Commissioner Johnson if you're going to do something like that. But I mean, that wasn't said, so that's why I nominated more than one person.
Okay, Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
This is no reflection on Commissioner Johnson or anybody. It was my understanding that each commissioner could appoint someone, could make a nominee. And so with that, it was my understanding, unless the document or something that was sent out said that we could do more than one. It's my understanding that we each had an opportunity to nominate someone. And maybe that was not addressed.
I can assume responsibility for that, Commissioner Burrell. I apologize, we didn't put that information out. Commissioner Vice President Johnson is a veteran, and not in the soldier sense, but in the political sense. And there was no restriction, and he had a lot of good candidates, so he put them all forward. So going forward, we'll definitely have to keep that in mind. I think every commissioner has chosen their 6. If you guys are ready, we will allow Deputy Nations to start the roll call votes on the candidates.
Okay, the first one is going to be for Tom Arsenault. Hopkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Jackson?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Burrell?
Yes.
Cawthorn?
Yes.
Gage Watt?
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
He received 10 yeas. Now we go to Major Roland Coleman, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
No.
Gage Watt,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
No.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
He received 9 yeas. Now we move to Mr. RJ Johnson, Hopkins,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
No.
He received received 7 yeas. Now we go to Ken Kraft, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
No.
Cawthorn,
No.
Gage Watts,
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
No.
He received 6 yeas. Now we go to Mr. Calvin Lester, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
No.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
No.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
He received 10 yeas. Now we go to Randall Lyles, Hopkins.
How many
Yeah.
positions we got left before we vote on this?
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 more candidates.
I know, but we voted a majority on how many? 5?
We need one more.
Need one more?
Wait a minute.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
You need one more.
Right. I'm saying we need one more, right? Okay.
We don't have no
Yeah.
women.
Yeah, but would that
Wait a minute.
matter?
We
Majority.
got Arsenal, Lester, Coleman.
Arsenault, Coleman, Johnson, and Lester all received at least 7.
Yeah, but would that matter? Would that matter if you wind up, if some of the others receive above 6?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it
I just wanted to make sure. We got to get.
6 is not.
What
a
was the
majority,
lowest
right?
number? What's the lowest number? 7?
6.
6.
No, the lowest number is 7, I believe.
Yeah.
No,
Lowest number is
6.
6.
No, somebody got 6.
6 doesn't count though. I mean, the
Right.
lowest
Not
number
majority.
that matters is 7, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Okay, the next one is Randall Lyles, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Young,
No.
Burrell,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
No.
Gage Watts,
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
No.
Okay, he received 6 yays. Now we go to Rudy Morton, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
No.
Gage Watts,
No.
Taliaferro,
No.
Atkins,
No.
Chavez,
No.
Lazarus,
No.
Epperson.
No.
And I want to make a point of clarification that for the new commissioners that each person only gets 6 yes votes.
For 6 votes total.
Right.
They
Yeah.
said that, but I think some people have voted more than 6 times.
I'm talking about yes votes.
That's what I'm saying, in
Right.
favor of.
Yes. You only get 6 yeses.
Yeah, no voter fraud here, okay?
I don't think.
I just want to make sure that people know
No.
that you only get 6 yes votes.
I think we shouldn't have did the no.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Right,
that was
that's normally
confusing.
what we do is not do, if you're not voting, just don't vote.
Well, I
Okay.
mean 6 yes votes. Now you can say
Right,
no
some
all you
people
want
may-
to, but it's only 6 yes votes.
Right, so just make sure you're keeping count of your yeses. Make sure you're keeping count of your yeses.
Yeah, I like to go on the record both ways.
I got
Right.
2 yes.
Keep going.
Okay, now we move to Joyce Rogers, Hopkins,
I have no more votes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
I spent all my yes votes already if y'all were talking about me. So
No.
No, I just making it sure that everybody knows.
Well, I didn't.
I got you.
Well, I didn't understand that, but that's okay. I've gone past it. I'm through.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Gage Watt,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
No.
Chavez,
No.
Lazarus,
No.
Epperson.
Yes.
She has 6 yay votes. Now we move to Dr. Melba Christie Turner Williams. Let's see, Hopkins went through, Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young, Burrell, Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watt,
Yes. Lyndon Solar.
Taliaferro,
I've used all my yes votes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
No.
Lazarus,
No.
Epperson.
No.
She has 5 yay votes. Now we move to Mr. Ryan Williams. Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
I'm out of yeses.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Gage Watt, Commissioner Watts,
Yes. I was stuck. I'm sorry, my screen was stuck.
that's okay. Commissioner Atkins,
No. I'm out of yeses.
okay. Chavez,
This is for Mr. Williams.
yes, sir.
Yes.
Epperson, I'm sorry, Lazarus,
I'm out of yeses as well.
Epperson,
No.
okay.
Yes, I can lean to somebody. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we have Arsenault received 10 votes. Coleman received 9 votes. Johnson received 7 votes. Lester received 10 votes. Rogers received 6 votes. Lyles received 6 votes. Kreff received 6 votes. Morton received 5 votes. Turner Williams received 5 votes, and Williams received 4 votes.
So the top 6 were whom?
We've only got top 4 so far.
You only got,
We've got a
yeah, you gotta
tie.
have
We've got a
majority.
tie.
There were only 4 candidates that received 7 or more votes. Would you like me to reread those?
Yes.
Okay, that's Arsenault, Coleman, Johnson, and Lester.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that second round, you only have 2 votes.
What's
Second.
Because you only
Sound like this stuff is rigged.
Mr. President?
Yes, Commissioner Talaferro.
I'm not familiar since I don't know that there's a protocol for what we're doing. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know if we just make, we just like
keep going.
we just kind of make it up, or we just go with the ones
go
that
another round.
got the next highest votes.
Yeah.
No, you have to have another.
You eliminate
Or
the
do we have-
top the ones who made the majority, and then you go to the next ones that didn't make the majority, and you do a second round.
Okay,
So
so
that's
now-
why I made the motion
Okay.
to only have 2 votes for the second round
Hold on.
of the
So
remaining candidates.
all right, so I'm under the impression that everybody, with the exception of the ones that got a majority, are to be considered, or just, yeah, I guess they would be.
Well, hold on. Commissioner Hopkins, you've got extensive history on this.
Well, you would take, you've got 3 candidates that are tied at 6 votes. I think that's what you break.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I made a motion, and I think I got a second.
Okay.
Is that your motion, sir?
Am I right?
You have a second.
Okay.
Give me the 3.
And my motion was you take the ones that did not make a majority, and you only have 2 votes.
So that means those that got 5 or less is also in
6,
that.
5, 4. Yeah, they all open to the second round.
Let me get a Commissioner Johnson. Let me get a point of clarification from Donna. Attorney Fraser. Obviously, this is a little bit uncharted because we're typically voting on 1 or 2 people. Since we're voting on a 6 count, how legally do we have to do this?
Commissioner, it would be to whatever rules you select. If you approve Commissioner Johnson's motion, then you would go with that process. If you wanted to limit it to the 3 people who had the 6 votes and came in technically second, then you would need to get a substitute motion in second and go with that process.
Okay.
I'd like to make.
I'll get you, Epperson. Commissioners, do me a favor. If you're not on the board, unclick your raise hand, because I have a lot of raised hands. I need to make sure that if the raised hands are on there, they still want to speak. Commissioner Epperson, you're on the board.
I want to make a motion that we would go with the 3 that got the next order of votes.
Second.
All right.
Next order.
Got a substitute motion from Commissioner Epperson and a second by Commissioner Hopkins. I'm going to go in order from top to bottom on the board so you guys can speak on there. Commissioner Talaferro, then Hopkins, Watts, Lazarus, LBJ, and Burrell.
Okay, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to speak. I just couldn't figure out
Okay.
how to remove my hand.
Commissioner Hopkins.
No, that's fine too. That we can go from here.
Okay.
It was
Can
on
I
another
ask the
question.
clerk if she'd read the names off?
Commissioner
Hello?
Epperson.
Obviously, may I ask the clerk if she would read the names of those 3?
Mitch?
Sure. We have, let's see, Joyce Rogers, Randall Lyles, and Ken Kraft.
Okay. Commissioner,
No, that's on, my hand was raised and you haven't,
I got you, bro, right after LBJ.
Am I up?
Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to add a friendly amendment that you only get 2 votes. Even though 3 people, you only got 2 votes.
That's right. All right.
Okay. That's all I wanted to add.
Commissioner Braille and then Commissioner Watts.
well, since I didn't understand the original that we only had 6 yeses until about middle ways through it, I'm glad that Commissioner Johnson said that, because I didn't know what the rules were. Like the rules were all over the place. But anyway, I'll go with whatever.
All right, Commissioner Watts.
I
What's the
withdrew.
motion?
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Braille, the motion is we're going to vote on the 3 that Deputy Nations just mentioned: Ken Kraft, Randall Lyles, and Joyce Rogers, and we only have 2 yes votes.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
can the deputy clerk read out who do we have right now on?
Yes. You mean who has been voted
Snow,
on?
Johnson, Coleman.
Correct.
Lester.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
You got, okay.
Say that again.
Miss Nations.
3, right?
Miss Nations, who are the 3 that are voted that are currently in place?
We have Joyce Rogers, Randall Lyles, and Ken Kraft.
No, not that we're about to vote on. The commissioner asked which ones made it already with the most votes.
Oh, Tom Arsenault, Major Coleman, RJ Johnson, and Calvin Lester.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Hopkins, I see you on the board.
Are any of these other candidates, are they any of these from the rural area? Or are they all inside the city? Yeah, it does make a difference.
Coleman
Do we
is
know- do we
rural
know-
area.
Okay,
Coleman is outside the city limits.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do roll call vote on those 3 that you mentioned, Miss Nations.
Commissioner, we have a motion on the floor.
All right.
The motion from Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Mr. Hopkins, to break the 3-way tie. Each commission, a friendly amendment from Commissioner Johnson, that each commissioner be allowed 2 votes apiece.
All right, we'll do roll call vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson, Commissioner Jackson,
I think he's fallen off.
Yeah, he's doing the hokey pokey.
He got
Young.
dropped for some reason.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, is
Jackson?
that you?
Yes.
And is your vote a yes or no, sir?
Who do I have? Who we got up?
Right now, it's just to break the 3-way tie, and each commissioner be allowed 2 votes.
Like the 3-way tie?
Yes, sir. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is our substitute amendment thing that we're doing? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously. Now we go to the 3. So we'll go in alphabetical order. The first one will be Ken Kraft, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
No.
Cawthorn,
No.
Gage Watts,
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
No.
We have 1, 2, 5, 6. We have 6 yays for him. Now we go to Randall Lyles, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
No.
Cawthorn,
No.
Gage Watt,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Randall Lyles,
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
I pass.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 yays for him. Now we go to Joyce Rogers, Hopkins,
I voted twice.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
I'm out of votes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Make sure it's yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watt,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
I'm out.
Atkins,
I'm out.
Chavez,
I'm out as well.
Lazarus,
I'm out.
Epperson.
Yes.
She received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She received 6 votes. So we have 1 candidate with 7 and 2 with 6.
So,
Third round.
so Ken made it.
Let's get it. Let's go.
Let's go. Vote again.
Is it 1 vote each? 1 vote each?
Yeah.
One vote each. One yes
One
vote.
vote.
One yes.
I thought, did we just need 5?
Need 7.
You need 6.
No, 5.
Need 7. Need 7.
Need 7, but you need 6 people.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so we'll take this in alphabetical order. We'll start with Ken Kraft, Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
No.
Hawthorne,
No.
Gage Watts,
No.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
No.
Okay, he received 6, so Miss Rogers would also receive 6.
That's right.
I have a question for Attorney Fraser.
Yeah.
Ms. Fraser?
Hey, Attorney Fraser, this is Commissioner Jackson. So, would the committee be able to, look like we're gonna, I mean, let's just face it, look like we at a standstill. Could the committee get its charge or whatnot and get started without the 6, or because it's in the charter that they have to have the 6 before they
You
can
have
be
to
seated?
have the 6.
Okay, so, all right.
Attorney Fraser,
Yes.
can the committee have 7 people?
As an alternative, that's what I'm thinking.
I believe the charter specifies 6. So that would be it would be the 6 in addition to the staff members who are named.
Madam Deputy Clerk,
Yes, sir.
Who was the 7 votes on Lyles?
On Lyles, it was Hopkins,
I was the 7. I was the 7.
Okay. All right.
I was the crossover. Jackson was
Okay.
the vote.
All right. I just asked. I was just trying to make sure nobody voted more than 2 times. That's all.
Yeah,
Commissioners, I don't anticipate that the committee will meet before your next commission meeting. So if you like to go with the 5 you have selected now and select one at that meeting, that may be a way to do it.
That was going to be my motion, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we move on.
So Commissioner Jackson says those will be our 5, and we'll pick the next one at the next meeting, and the chair will second.
Got a question, point of clarification. Are we still limited to those 2, or are we limited to the other ones that was on the list?
Yeah, I think we should add them back. Well, but that's not necessarily the criteria, huh?
I just asked for a point of clarification.
It's whatever we make it, actually.
And that's exactly right. It's you're limited because your motion here was to limit yourself on these for these votes. If you so choose to do differently next time, you can do that.
So we can make a motion to add the others next time.
Yeah, Mr. President, I would say that in our next meeting that we will determine in this meeting if we will open it back up to the ones who did not make it, or we just limit it to the 2 that we had to tie 6 votes on.
Commissioner Jackson, would you accept a friendly amendment that we accept these 5 voted on, and all the remaining votes that have been submitted, we vote on next meeting?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'll second that still. If every other commissioner is okay with that, we can
point of clarification.
5 and vote on all the rest at the next meeting. Commissioner Burrell, did you have a question?
No, I just had a clarification. Did I understand you to say that at the next meeting, then we just lump everybody back together and start over again?
Yes, sir. I think that's the fairest. We've picked our 5, and for the last one, we will vote on that collectively with all the other candidates.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I see no other commissioners on the board. Please vote.
Would you like me to read the motion out loud?
I think we understand it.
I think we got it.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yep.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watt,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Now we move to the next old business item, which is to confirm appointment to the Industrial Development.
Mr. President,
Move that we
appoint Ms. LaSonia Moore and Mr. Fred White, respectively.
Second.
All right.
What was that?
Appoint LaSonia Moore and Fred White.
I believe the motion on the floor is to appoint both of them.
Correct.
Yeah.
I got a substitute motion.
So Commissioner Jackson made the motion and Taliaferro seconded it. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on that motion?
No, sir.
All right.
Commissioners, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so you guys want to appoint both LaSonia Moore and Fred White, who for who? Because the terms of expiration are different.
Well, I have a substitute motion. If I
Okay.
can get on the board.
Well, I was. Yeah, he may have to clarify my motion, but I thought we came to an agreement. I thought everybody came to an agreement earlier, but you need to clarify.
All right.
Lasagna Moore from,
Can I make my substitute motion?
Yes, sir. Commissioner
Yeah, sure.
Johnson, go ahead.
Okay, I would like to appoint Lasagna Moore for the resignation spot of Dr. Henry Armington. And I would like to go down to 21.1 and appoint Fred White for the resignation of Tanita Gilbert Bryant Baker.
Who said that second? I'm sorry.
I did, second.
Commissioner Hopkins, okay. So that
everybody.
motion and Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to speak on that motion?
No, I think it's self-explanatory.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, Mr. Burrell.
The remaining terms of the one that we're replacing, what are they?
The term for Dr. Armington, his term expires August 22nd, 2021. The term for Ms. Anita Gilbert Baker expires August 22nd, 2023.
Okay, and what the motion said, who's replacing who?
Mr. Johnson asked that Ms. Lasagna Moore fill the unexpired term for Dr. Armington, and Mr. Fred White fill the unexpired term of Ms. Tanita Gilbert Baker.
Okay.
Commissioner Johnson, are you on the board again?
No, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All right, I see no one on the board. Please vote.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watt,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epps.
Yes.
That passes with 12 yeas. Now we go to discussion regarding the Census Complete Count Committee for Caddo Parish.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, got a motion to adopt in a second. See anyone on the board want to talk about that? No, please vote.
Hopkins,
What?
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
I don't have, we vote no.
Complete count.
This is 23.
Yeah.
Is complete count.
Commissioners, you've already adopted their resolution.
Yes, we have, because I sponsored it. So I was wondering
Yeah,
where it's going.
I'm just trying to figure out what we're doing. Yeah, I thought we already did it. That's why I'm confused.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was just a discussion.
If this has already been adopted, I don't know why it's back on the agenda. Can we
Well,
remove
you
this?
never appointed the committee.
Oh.
Right. I thought that's why we put it on to have discussion about it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner
Move
Epperson.
to the next meeting.
Second.
Second.
All right, please vote on delay to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, I got a little pointer. We need to move to the next meeting, but how many people do we need to put on this committee?
As many as you like.
Board the way you want it, but we can talk about it, I promise.
All right, so I mean, people ought to have in their head who they want to appoint to this committee at the next meeting, so we won't be sitting here keeping going on.
But think about 3, okay?
So three per commissioner. Please don't submit any more. That way we can kind of keep it down.
Yeah, but Mr. Chairman, I was gonna clarify, if we can have 3 or more.
Three.
So what's the total amount that will be on the committee?
25.
No.
Okay.
Madam Commissioner, may I ask a question?
We still gonna talk about it, huh? So we might as well just go and talk about it, because see.
Yeah.
Who's on the board to talk about that?
I'm trying to ask a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
Y'all was in the middle of voting for me. That's how I ended up asking that question. But I was just gonna ask if we can look at, instead of it being a game of, just like we saw with the Charter Review Committee, if we could do I know the city of Shreveport in their complete count census committee, they asked for somebody from every district. So I was just gonna say, if we can appoint 1 or 2 people from each district, that way everybody can have representation instead of having to fight over who got it on. I don't think Attorney Frazier, if I remember the legislation correctly.
Right. And that's exactly what it's designed for. Right. That's why I said 3. So
That's
each
what I
one
was
would be 2.
Is if we could just appoint somebody from every commission district.
Yeah. And you'll need at least a representative into, y'all exactly right.
Okay. So the committee be a 12 based upon the discussion we
That
just had.
sounds good. That's
All right,
good.
let's move on. Committee of 12, each person name 1.
That sounds good. So,
Now, are you absolutely sure it's 1?
yes.
Jesus.
Commissioner Watts, would you accept that friendly amendment that we're gonna postpone this to next meeting? And we
As
will
long as
vote on.
if we don't have any point of clarifications or any other questions, I won't.
Okay. We're gonna postpone this to the next meeting to vote, and the vote will be each commissioner can submit 1 name from within their district.
Thank you. Let's vote.
Amen.
How many names?
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, now we move to the next item, which is commission will convene into executive session to discuss.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Commissioner Vice President.
I would like to suspend the rules to do the confirmation before we do the executive session.
Second.
Move it up.
That was second.
I'll second that. Roll call vote, Ms. Nations?
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. So we will move to authorize reappointment of Mr. James Gillum to Lakeview Water
Move
Works.
to reappoint.
Second.
Second.
Would you like to speak on that motion?
No.
Okay.
Who was the second?
I was one of them.
Califerro sound like.
Okay. Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson, Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yeah.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Okay. Now we have commission will convene into executive session to discuss litigation regarding case number 620773 and First Judicial Court, District Court.
Mr. President, I move that we remove this item from the agenda until we can meet in person and have an executive session.
I second.
Second.
All right.
Cause of privacy.
I understand. I got a motion by, was that Commissioner Epperson that made that motion?
No, I second it.
I'm
No,
sounding like
Jackson.
Epperson now? Wow.
No, I second it.
Commissioner Jackson made the motion.
I gotta get some youth in my voice.
Got it. Yep, Commissioner Jackson and then Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on that motion?
Yes.
You said yes or no?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Please
Do it.
vote.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, deputations, Commissioner Burrell.
I don't know what the litigation is. I mean, we'll talk about it later. I don't know what the hell the litigation.
I'll call you so we can talk about it offline.
Sure.
Go ahead, Ms. Nations.
Okay, Hopkins. Commissioner Hopkins. I don't see him online anymore. Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Gage Watt, Commissioner Gage Watts.
I believe she fell off.
I see her.
I see her under participants, but oh no, there she is.
Commissioner Watts, can you hear? Okay.
Commissioner Atkins.
Taliaferro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Atkins had to leave.
Yeah, he's out.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas and 3 absent. Now we move to communiques and committee reports.
All right, commissioners, get on the board or wave your hand so I can see you. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I would like Haley to do a brief outline of the NGOs that we do have, a synopsis of what they wanted the money for, the budget. And I want to schedule a meeting for May the 4th at 1:30.
May 4th at 1:30. Ms. Barnett, are you still with us? Want to make sure Haley got
Yes,
that.
I am.
Okay.
I'm here.
Perfect.
I got it.
Okay, thank you, Haley.
No problem.
Commissioner Johnson, is that all?
That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Burrell? Host, will you unmute Mr. Burrell?
Yeah, if there's any more economic development projects that's in the queue, I'd like to know those. And since Commissioner Johnson already asked for the NGOs, the non-economic development NGOs, I'd like to have a copy of that since I'm on the committee. And the last thing is, Brother Lazarus, I'm actually, my garden, I have, you asked that early on when we started.
I did.
So I have tomatoes, cabbage, collard, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, melons, I just say tomatoes, kale, peppers.
Nice garden, sounds like.
So, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see no other commissioners on the board.
I have not received any more citizens' comments.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
meeting adjourned. Thank you, commissioners. Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Michelle.
Good job, Michelle.
Thank y'all.